Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Arvanauts. Welcome, everyone, to a September 28th, 12:25 p.m. Eastern Tuesday stream. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you folks are looking forward to what I expect to be a really fun session today as we continue on with more Erebor adventures. It is day 28 of Adventures Middle-earth, Erebor Adventures 2 Dungeons Deep. And before we go any further, just a couple of reminders, as always, about ways to support us here on the channel. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to follow the channel. Please make sure to check out our YouTube with !ArvTube, and please subscribe to us over there if you can. !ArvCord is the Discord channel where you can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams, and !ArvTweets is my Twitter where you can follow me, and I will post about various things relating to writing, streaming, gaming, teaching, playing music, and family stuff, and even occasionally a bit of politics thrown in. All of that can be found there at !ArvTweets. The website for all of this is arvanelleron.com. On the financial side, !Arv Shop will get you to the merchandise area where you can get stuff for Adventures of Middle-earth, Infinity and Beyond, and soon to be Esper Genesis as well. I know Arcanusbot is back with us today. !ArvTreon is the Patreon, which allows you to not only get inspirations to help our tabletop players throughout the month, but also lets you get various stuff, a custom character background written about you, epic poem written for you, copy of one of my band's albums, many other things, even writing critiques depending on the level at which you support. And that really is the financial backbone of the channel, so that kind of support is really appreciated. And you can check that out with !ArvTreon. It also moves us towards more channel goals as well. And if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel the way that Coven of Lennar just did. Thank you, Coven, very much for the resub. I appreciate it. Very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you. And that also, of course, is hugely important and makes a big difference, and allows you to get those custom sub badges and emotes to use everywhere across Twitch, along with, as I mentioned before, the inspirations which you can use to help the tabletop players. As always, on the publishing side, !Icarus is my Icarus graphic novel from Athos Arts. !Library is the Tales and Tomes in the Forbidden Library. It has been great to see over the last week. I've gotten all the people are now reporting in as the books arrive, and everyone seems to be very happy with the physical product, as they should be. I mean, Alligator Alley did an amazing job with that, and if you were interested in checking it out, you should check out the link there, !Library. That's Tales and Tomes in the Forbidden Library. That is the digital version on DriveThruRPG, but after, I don't know what it works out to, about a month to 6 weeks or something like that, if you didn't back the Kickstarter, you will then be able to start looking to get the physical copies. You'll be able to get some physical copies at your friendly local game store anyway, potentially. But then after that, it will be more available for retail access for the consumer. So you'll be able to get those print versions of the books. And it really came out nicely. So I would encourage you all to check that out. So that, again, is Tales and Tomes, The Forbidden Library, !Library, and !Greyshade KS for more details about my Greyshade Kickstarter. More information about that coming soon. I hope to be able to provide fairly soon. That is, again, going to be worked on by both Alligator Alley and by Athos Arts. And if you haven't already done so, please consider checking out all of that stuff, again, over on that website that I mentioned before. As always, !BLM, Black Lives Matter, very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives. And !Help Now, which is the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Very important to reach out to others when they need help, and to reach out to others when you need help as well. Quick note on schedule. We have Adventures of Middle-earth coming up today at 4 p.m. today. I will be over on GOG.com's Twitch channel for D&D with GOG Ghosts of Saltmarsh as we continue that really cool campaign. That'll be going on, and then that's going to be it until Friday. On Friday, we will have Esper Genesis coming back at you, and it's going to be, if all goes well, live from the Origins convention in Columbus, Ohio. I'm very excited about that. That's going to be at least with myself, and Carlos Hernandez will be there. There is a possibility that one of the other players may be in the area and may be able to join us for that live thing. Otherwise, everyone else is going to be joining us virtually. So Zach and Kat and Saladin Ahmed, who of course has now joined us. So we're very excited about that. That's going to be happening on Friday. And then Saturday is up in the air. I don't yet know exactly what I'm looking at yet, because I don't know what things are going to look like in terms of internet. I may end up streaming from Origins. I may do a live broadcast during the day. I don't know. It's going to be very up in the air because I don't know what to expect. This is going to be it's not my first con back because I did go to Three Rivers in May during that one brief glorious window where things were looking on the upswing. Hopefully now we're getting to the point where Delta cases are beginning to drop again, and let's hope in the States anyway. So let's hope that continues. So this is not the first one I've been back to since the pandemic, but it is the second one, and it's clearly going to be the biggest one that I've been back to. And so I don't really know what to expect, to be perfectly honest. It's also happening, of course, normally Origins happens during the summer. Now it's happening during the fall. So it's all a very different kind of experience. So I don't know exactly what things will look like, but I will let you folks know. And then when we get back from Origins, then I will be here at least through mid-December. In mid-December, excuse me, my plan is still to be going to Worldcon, which is DisCon 3. That's in Washington, D.C. But again, schedule and all that kind of stuff, we'll figure that out later. So for the rest of October and all of November, after I get back from Origins, it will be pretty much standard hanging around here, and we will have a lot of stuff to talk about and to broadcast and to stream and all that as we do stuff going forward. But with all that said, now that you've heard all of that business, it is time to move on to talk about the wonderful Adventures of Middle-earth crew. So I have unmuted myself so they can hear me. I apologize, as always, for interrupting them in whatever awesome thing they were talking about. I just saw a bunch of links coming up I don't even know what they are, but they were talking about something. And now I'm going to bring you over to the spectacular crew of... Look, it is them. They are here. It is the Adventures in Middle-earth crew, one of whom is stopped in the midst of eating... What is that? Trent?
Broccoli.
Oh, that's broccoli? Oh, good
ew.
stuff. Broccoli's tremendous. Broccoli's great.
I've got broccoli. I've got sugar snap peas. I've got carrots, which are proving to be rather difficult because I'm getting old and my family historically has very weak teeth. So that's becoming challenging. And I have grapes,
Wow,
which in French is what?
Raisin.
Aha!
Right. Listen.
What just happened? That aha sounded
He has discovered a truth.
Those in my channel who have followed me for a long time will know why Trent is finding out what exactly grapes are in French. And actually, Terry will know this also, and that's fine. That's fine. Okay,
He
that's
feels
fine.
about raisins the way I feel about broccoli.
That's where I was
Exactly.
having for lunch. I was having broccoli, but also purple cauliflower, which is
Ooh.
Yes, very
so
good.
cool.
Very
it's
good.
actually genuine. Like I keep going. Is it just because it's purple that I'm enjoying it so much more? But no, it is just actually tastier. I really really like it. It's got a different flavor, and it's very nice. I like it. Good old
Yes.
farm share.
It is very good all the way around. I would agree with that. You just subbed, and Chris is gonna have to deal with that on the one who watches the channel. Thank you, Garlic, for doing that. The resub thing should pop up at some point here. At some time it will do that. But thank you very much, Garlic Tofu, and it's good to see you. I will be seeing Garlic Tofu and Ballsteg both this weekend at the Origins game convention for the Origins library, so that's going to be very exciting. But I am very happy to have the crew in front of me, and I think it is time, therefore, to introduce these lovely people to you. Oh, it's on your gift sub, so it'll play your music in October. Okay, good. As long as you get your music, that's going to be key. So I am going to start, as always, with the gentleman who just showed us the vegetables that he was consuming. And that, of course, is broccoli and carrot and sugar snap pea and grape eating. Trendane Sparks. Hello, Trend. How are you? How's life in the universe with you, and who are you playing today?
First piece of advice that I would like to give you is if you're eating grapes and sugar snap peas and you're occasionally dipping your sugar snap peas into ranch dressing because you've got all these delicious vegetables and it's important to have a balanced diet, so a huge tub of fat is a good way yeah, man. When you eat a grape, do not then immediately upon finishing said grape dip a sugar snap pea into the ranch and stick it in your mouth, because grape and ranch dressing, not a real good combo.
Yeah, no.
I totally thought you were going to say that you were accidentally dipping the grapes in the ranch dressing as a sort of sense memory situation. So at least it's not that, but
That would also be unfortunate. Yes.
Yep. So yes, I am Trent Sparks. I am a professional voice actor and audiobook narrator, mostly in the BattleTech Shadowrun arena, but every now and again I narrate stuff for other people who shall remain nameless.
I don't know who you'd be referring to at all.
I don't either.
No,
I mean,
just
what like Jennifer Brozek. I'll wind up narrating
Sure.
her novels. So, but see if I can get through this whole thing in one shot. I'm playing a guy named Thane Tawny Bear the Hearthmender, dwarf friend, who was kind of a berserker at the Battle of Five Armies and was like biting people and occasionally eating bits of people, and he's just not a nice guy. And then eventually he got driven off because he wasn't helping anybody's case, and he went to Beorn after the thing several times because Beorn kept saying, "No, I'm not going to teach you." And eventually Beorn said, "Okay, fine. Yes, I believe that you're actually committed or should be," and taught him to be a healer. And so he has been a healer for this party through all of the craziness that they've been doing, and generally having a pretty good time. But now we're getting into an area where things are getting a bit more maudlin, shall we say, slightly more frumpy and sort of thing. I think that's a word. But you know who could probably explain it better?
Ah, yes. I look forward to seeing how he handles that maudlinness. But maudlinity, maybe? I should use that word more, maudlinity. But thank you, Trent. Always a pleasure to have Trent with us, and we shall see how Tawny does today. We shall also see how someone who's going to be very much up close and personal with everybody early on, because he is the scout, and they are going to need him in the waste to come. And that, of course, is one Mr. Brad Bullier. Brad, it's good to see you. I want everyone to note, again, as we were pointing out before, that Brad has adopted the Orson Welles dramatic side look, here. So, like, yeah. it works so well. It's so good.
So effective.
Oh man.
Oh my God.
It is looking good. So I appreciate the fact that you've reached that level of pretentious. I'm completely making all this up. But it is awesome to see Brad and have Brad with us. Brad, it's good to see you. How is life in the universe with you? And who are you playing today that's going to lead the party through the waste, hopefully?
Life is going well. I'm currently going through this not so large manuscript, actually. This is my book coming out in December, so I'm going through the final proofreads at this point. So I should be done by next week, and I'm so looking forward to getting that done and off my plate, because I'm ready for new things. I'm ready to write something new. And I am playing Bolobras Tuk, an excitable but progressively more jaded hobbit and treasure hunter who has found surprisingly little treasure so far. Maybe soon. We shall see.
Fear not.
And and he has
Treasure
been
is the friends you made along the way.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I should have made you guys do the Barrow White campaign, where just everything was just explore this tomb, that tomb, this tomb, that tomb.
I'm treasure.
Yeah, so he has been going through a downward spiral from his early days in the campaign. So we'll see how he does in the Waste. It has not gone well so far, but hopefully he can lead his group, his crew, through safely.
Yeah, and I should say that, as it stands right now, Tawny has 6 shadow points. The river is miserable. Stone is miserable. Inga has 10 shadow points. But Bolo, you have 4 shadow points, and you're only miserable when you're underground. So of the whole crew, with the possible exception of Lilliman, you are, you're everything's great. I mean, comparatively. No, it'll be
sure. Why not?
That's definitely the way it is. But the very next thing is like you see a great cave underneath the earth. Like, God damn it! Fine. Anyway,
all roads lead underground.
All roads lead. Yeah, all roads lead to the bowels of the earth. Anyway, it is good to see Brad, and thank you for being with us. Look forward to seeing what Bolo brings to us today. Also, look forward to seeing what Inga brings forth for us today. And of course, I'm speaking here by the amazing Terry Tunes. It's good to see you. Terry was giving us information about the color-coded systems of electoral politics in Germany, which was
Yes.
definitely something I was not. I mean, I had heard something about it, but hearing it in Terry's inimitable descriptions. It is not to be missed. But it's good to see Terry. How are you doing, Terry? How's life in the universe with you, and who are you playing today?
I'm doing good, and like to give people like the most quickest rundown. Like basically, we had parliament elections last weekend, last Sunday, and the way things work here is now like a bunch of parties have to form a coalition to form the new government. And the way those coalitions are named is based on the party colors those coalitions consist of. And those often get silly nicknames. Like, for example, the Jamaica coalition, which is named that because it has all the colors of the Jamaican flag. And that's how we got to that topic. Also, let's not hope for the Jamaica coalition because that one is hot garbage. But that's enough about real world
Wow,
politics.
Terry saying Jamaica is hot garbage. I can't believe
No,
that Terry
the
would
Jamaica
say that.
coalition. I have never been to Jamaica. I have no opinion about Jamaica.
All of our Jamaican viewers, just turn off
all
just
the,
one.
all the ones that we have, yeah.
There are dozens of us. Hey, listen, if we ever want to be big in Jamaica, Anyway.
There are dozens of us, dozens.
Dozens. That's my favorite.
Okay, so enough about real world stuff. I am playing Thane Inga Homefinder, Daughter of Ida, and Council of Dine II. See, Trending, that's how you do a character
I
introduction.
did that part. I did that part just fine. It was when I got to the stuff after that.
Of course.
It's an interesting slip, by the way, Trend, that you said, was a berserker. I was like, intentional?
I genuinely thought that Tawny might chomp down on a warg at one point during the battle, and I thought that will that be an interesting resurgence of the berserker nature?
Wait till he
I'm
gets
down on
into
his
the
neck
Shadow
and
Force.
Yeah, or
I don't
Bane
want- I really don't
backbreak the
want-
wolf,
yeah.
A healthy snack. But Inga is a dwarf of the Erebor. She has been living her life outside of dwarven society for most of her life because, it was like the whole thing with that dragon. You might have heard of it.
Minor.
And she is a wanderer, and she has a trusty pony sidekick named Dilliman, and her shadow situation is not great. Ding, 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 ding. I guess she's a stonemason. That too, though she has not had a lot of time lately to work on that. Though she has been doing like a whole
Broken stone and all that.
stone thing.
yeah.
What do you call that?
The whole city
It's like
improvement
gentrification,
project.
but not evil.
No, yeah, it's like a city improvement project,
City improvement project,
yeah,
yes.
absolutely. Yeah, no.
Yes, that.
I am very pleased to have Terry with us. Also, quick note for those in chat who are curious. I don't know I think Effect Life is here. So I just want to say, Effect Life, that next Tuesday, fingers crossed, Terry and I will return with the Gamebook illustration stream next Tuesday. So Tuesday,
Hopefully.
mark your calendars. This is hoping that Terry's shelves hold up and I
don't have any shelves anymore. I mean, you can there's nothing there. There used to be 2 shelves there. They both fell down.
I expected they were just
You
going
can
to see
see
it
like one of the holes I had to patch up. I didn't sand it yet, so.
I see.
But,
I was expecting you were going to have it like clamped in like with mega, like 12 rivets and all this stuff.
No, like currently, like one of the shelves that was on the wall is now on my desk, and I have like just laying there is like a basically
It's a
5 centimeter thick
Yeah.
like screen stand, if you wish, and I clamped the camera arm to that one. So
I gotcha. I
yeah.
gotcha. Well, it is so Effect Life. You're going to be able to do that. It's my first on-stream spackle check. Yes, that's quite true, Charlie. Spackle check. Anyway, it is good to see Terry as always.
roll for spackle
and-
check. What's my bonus on that one?
Yeah, I know, right? Depends. Is this a known land for you? I guess it is. But I'm excited to have Terry
Nobody
with us.
can know what's in these walls.
What
It's a
tale they
mystery.
could tell. But it's good to have Terry
Yeah.
with us, and we will see what Inga has today as we are following one of her people, as we are pursuing Domi, the Dwarven Scholar. But before we talk about that, we need to talk to Amal, who is here with us. It is good to see you, Amal. I hope everything is well with you. How is life in the universe? In the world to the north of where I am anyway, and who are you playing today?
Not too bad. We also had an election here. Not that you could tell. On account
Not much
of-
changed, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost like there was no reason to have it.
Just sometimes you've got an extra $600 million in your budget that you just feel like you want to, use up for absolutely no reason, and
just burning a hole in their pockets,
Exactly. So, but yeah, so we also have a minority government here, like Germany does right now. But anyway, that's fine. What is I gonna say? No, things are nice. I have started taking dance classes, and I'm really enjoying them. And by enjoying them, I mean I'm terrible. And it's always kind of, I don't know, I think there's something kind of exciting about doing something I'm actually like super bad at with no expectation of becoming particularly good at it, just like enjoying the process. So I can confirm that trying to follow choreography is like trying to read sheet music with your feet, and it's very difficult, and I'm having a hard time with it. But in retrospect, I enjoy it. After being sweaty and sad. But anyway, it's fine. It's good. Other than that, yeah, that's basically all the news right now. Things are okay. I knock on wood. Becoming autumn outside, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I play a character called the River, who is a woodsman of Roscobel, who is currently capital M miserable. I'm real sad about it. She is a warden, or AKA fighty bard, and yeah, she's gonna be wielding her dual axes at disadvantage, which is gonna be super great. It's just gonna be amazing. It's just gonna be like zero problems whatsoever.
Well, luckily, we're only fighting voles in this adventure, so it shouldn't be too bad.
Shadow voles, Brad. Shadow voles.
Oh, of course, waste voles.
Waste voles.
Waste voles. My God.
They just arise from the holes, like with just just a scratch over there.
So, yeah. Oh, I think I totally failed to tell you about my character. Arv, is that actually she super loves and is made extraordinarily happy by sand. Like, just, vast tracts of sandy wilderness actually put
It's
her in her
unfortunate
happy
this is
place.
just broken stone and scrub brush, though. It's too bad
Is
that it's
it?
not
I don't-
actually sand.
It is, though, because
It's covered by
in our
ash.
faces.
No, it's covered by ash. That's a whole different
Oh,
thing. It's a
Well,
whole.
her partner is literally named Ash.
Do you
So
want me to suggest that the land is covered with your partner? Because I don't know what to tell you. That should be really miserable. You just
Yeah, no.
and you look over, and I was like, no, actually, it was Ash is lying on the ground. Like, what? God, what are you doing?
I'm just trying to set you up for your newly minted catchphrase.
My new
of,
catchphrase
like,
of aspirational roleplay.
yeah,
That was so
exactly.
funny. So for those who don't know what that's about, someone had tweeted something about if you were a celebrity DM, what would be the catchphrase your players would suggest for you? So I was just like, so I literally added all of my 18 plus players that I'm currently running for, and I was like, so what do you think? And I think Amal was either the first or second person to weigh in with just like, I appreciate aspirational role play. I was just dying. I was hoping someone was going to mention it because I was like, I do use that one quite a bit. And then there was Terry's one about which is mostly, as I point out, which comes out after someone's like, Arv, can we do this? And I'm like, that's me thinking.
No, you misinterpreted that one. That is like the response to when I make like an absolutely ridiculous suggestion.
I
That's
wasn't
purposefully
specifying.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I wasn't distinguishing what was. I wasn't distinguishing. I wasn't just like no, denied, rejected. But
And then some of us
Anyway,
some of us didn't really read the original tweet and thought they were looking for our catchphrases.
Yeah.
Yeah, gee, I wonder who that was.
Yeah,
who misinterpreted
Trent did
that.
post that. I'm like, I don't want to steal your catchphrase. It's just like I don't.
I don't mind sharing. It's fine.
It was fun. But I'm excited to have the crew with us, and let us get into our
Wait,
thing.
I also have a faithful
gonna
hunter
say?
Mirkwood named Stone.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to cut off Stone. No, who is also miserable.
Yes, exactly.
No,
He's
masonry
also
is my
miserable.
job, not yours. Hey.
Hey,
Yeah, cutting of
that's
stone.
true. Stone is a faithful hound, but look, Stone
my
is at
God.
32 out of 32 and has only 3 shadow points. So
Dogs
Um,
shouldn't have shadow points.
No,
Dogs
no,
are pure.
Amal. It's fine. He has like 1 billion wisdom points. So like, you know how he can't possibly amass that many shadow points. That would like cost
Why
an
are
issue.
you doing this? Why are you being like this? I thought we were friends. Also, dogs are incorruptible and pure, and the idea that they should have shadow
That's what she's
points
saying.
and or corruption is just not fair.
secretly a
look at
disguised cat.
Cujo.
Yeah, like Cujo was definitely not shadow driven at all.
No, he was just an adorable, cuddly pup.
Absolutely.
You little puppy.
No, I have no doubt that the Fellowship will be drawn together. The Antoinauts will draw themselves together and will manage to cross this terrible waste. Which reminds me, let's talk about the waste. Here we are, looking at the map, and let's talk a little bit about that as I fire up the music here. Let's see. We need some ominous music. That's what we need. How about some? There we go. Yeah. Ah, lovely. A little bit of Air Prelude by Kevin MacLeod. In our last session, the Antoinauts were making their way to try to discover the location of the dwarven scholar Domi, who had come with significant information for Bard, and also apparently significant information for the dwarves about some research he had been doing. But he never arrived, and the party was asked to actually go track him down and find him. The party set out to the northwest, leaving Dale and Erebor behind and heading up to the northwest through the northern Dale lands. There they encountered few things. First of all, a silent pool in front of which 2 bodies were sprawled, and something about the makeup of this place and the feel of these 2 who had been reaching out for the water and yet apparently didn't reach out far enough, just gave up and expired, had a real profound effect on the party as some of them began to feel the shadow gathering. Later on, I believe it was a day or so later on, they ended up encountering an enormous group of wargs that was threatening the life of one Clifford, whose last name I have suddenly forgotten.
Did he have
The
one?
big red dog.
He did. Clifford the Big Red Dog. If only, that would have made things a lot easier. Yes, he did have one. And I'll tell you exactly what it is. It is Clifford Sedger. That's right. Clifford Sedger, who originally was from Bree and had actually been hired by the dwarves to take care of their ponies. And he had accompanied Domi and the rest of his dwarven retinue through Mirkwood and on their way down to Erebor, where they were headed eventually to meet with Bard in Dale. But they ended up being ultimately ambushed by a group of shadowy looking strange men, although there was one character there who was covered in a cloak that was shorter, looked possibly like a goblin or something like that, who seemed to be with them as well. And Domi was apparently captured by these. Several of the dwarven retinue were killed, and the experience of all of this, of course, weighed even more heavily on the party. As the party then headed to the east, the party found themselves. Bear with me, I have something running that shouldn't be. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Was it then a detached retinue?
I see what you did there. That's good work. That was kind of a corny joke, Trent, but it wasn't too bad. Yeah, I'll be here. I'll be here all the week. So
yeah, that's definitely some vitreous humor you've got going on.
Outstanding. See,
Yeah.
Amal's a good.
See, there was the other catchphrase.
Yeah, Amal is
If
a
I didn't
good.
have a mouthful
Outstanding,
of grapes, that's
yeah. Amal is a
exactly
good
where I was
pupil.
gonna go.
Amal's a good
That's
pupil.
right, yep.
for this.
Wait, what?
Amal's a good pupil. and there's no reason to lash out at her for that. So.
But let's not browbeat this thing. Let's just.
Yeah. Everyone's just like, I just hard groaned at that. It's all good. Anyway, so the party headed off to the east and eventually into the waste. And as the party made it over from the northern Dale lands into the waste, the party eventually found themselves in an area where the shadow continued to build upon them for various reasons. Number one, they found that the food supplies that they were using, although Bolo has done spectacular work in managing to work with what he has, this is very much, learning from his battered mug experience, I have no doubt.
Beetles, worms.
Yeah.
What have you.
But despite all of that, he has found himself unable to manage all of it. Kind of an echo on my end. Well, see, I was going to ask about that. Oh, that's why, because I had my speaker on. I think this should be
Smart.
better. Check 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 echoes. Any more echoes?
We only have one echo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not even in chat right now. Okay.
Yeah. So we have 0 echoes.
Okay, so they found that the food was in some ways not as filling or nourishing as they would have hoped, despite Bolo's best efforts. That had an effect on the party, as did the discovery that a nasty breed of fleas had infested the companions' sleeping cots,
Right.
and that also affected both them and, of course, our good friend Stone. Now, they would have gained a level of exhaustion, but fortunately, thanks to Tawny and the amazing honey cakes of godliness, they were successful in managing to ward off that exhaustion. But as we enter the waste and as they reached the end of our last session, being helped, I should say, by Cliff, who actually is able to track down the horses that went with the missing Domi and a couple of dwarves that survived the encounter in the ambush. The company made its way through what was essentially an ash storm, whipping up a bunch of this ash and covering over much of the land. And at the very end of our last session, it became clear that the trail had been covered over by this ash. Already, the waste that they are in was not the most amenable thing to tracking creatures or dwarves or anything like that. But they had managed to do it. And now with the ash covering it over, things are considerably more difficult. And that is where we're going to hand things back over to the party. And I want to start by handing it over to Bolo, actually, because it has just been the case that Cliff, standing next to him, said, "Well, Master Bolo, how are we going to find them in all that?" And Bolo, now you have a decision that you have to make in terms of trying to track it down. Now, you've just seen that the tracks are covered over, so you can try to make a check to discover it again or whatever the case may be, but I'm just letting you know that that is the case. I will also mention that because we are dealing with the miserable condition, that means that we are going to be at disadvantage, I believe, on ability checks, and it also means that you're going to fail charisma checks. Let me confirm this. Yes, so disadvantage on attack rolls. Sorry, not ability checks. Disadvantage on attack rolls, and the creature automatically fails charisma ability checks. That miserable condition can be counteracted by spending inspiration to change the disadvantage into a just neutral roll, but it means that you're not going to be able, in attacks anyway, to get inspiration or advantage on anything until such time as this miserable condition has been lifted. So
This
now
applies to Bolo though, right? Because he is not.
right, Bolo is not miserable until he is buried underground, which will happen within the next hour. No, but otherwise he will not be.
We just stand still long enough in the ash storm.
Oh, there's a-
Miserable.
Feeling
Like,
worse, feeling worse.
Is it up to my waist at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm
Waiting
feeling
for-
less happy. I'm feeling less happy. Anyway, so Bolo, you were standing next to Cliff. What would you like to do?
Okay. So up to we've been here a couple of days at this point, right?
Yes, I think you've been in the waste about a day and a half, if I'm not mistaken. This is on the second day.
And has the have the tracks been going in generally the same direction, or have
Yes.
they been weaving a little bit?
That's right. They have been generally going over to the east. And
Do we have a map? Like, does the party have a map or
Oh, I didn't bring you. I'm sorry. I brought.
enough
I brought
knowledge?
No, I do. Oh no, you're on the Dungeons Deep map.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
as-
no, but what I'm saying is that not can I, Brad, look at a map. Do the characters have a map such that we could like sort of plot what might lie ahead? Like, do we know where they're headed, or are we simply just tracking?
You don't.
to
Right
find
now,
out
you're
where they
simply
went?
tracking. In fact, if you remember when you first discovered it, it was going up to the north through the Dale Lands,
Yeah.
and then it turned east and went into
Yeah.
the waste, which is. I'm getting some feedback now on my end too, and this is not me. Does someone have speakers on or something like that? Maybe.
Well, I do. Let me turn
Yeah, I think you. Yeah,
down my speakers a bit, just in case.
Yeah, because now I don't have anything else that would be causing an echo. Now that I
Mhm.
turn the speaker off.
But I only really hear it when you do it, Arv.
No, I know, but I know that, but I don't know what else.
Well, you're the loudest, so it might be mine. Hold on.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to mute you for a second, Brad, and say test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 12, 12. Yeah, I'm not getting response there, right?
Seems to work now.
Yeah, that's because I muted Brad for a second. So when Brad unmutes.
Wear headphones in call.
I am not wearing headphones, but my setup seems to not have a problem with it. I could put some on though, if that would be helpful.
No, it doesn't. I don't think it matters as long as it's not kicking through.
Or just don't plug them in or anything. Just put them on. Just so we
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's what I figured, Triffid.
Speaking of like landscape stuff, so like what is like the general levels of elevation going on? You're like, no matter where we are, can we see the mountains in like the Grey Mountains and the Erebor, or is there like rifts and stuff?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of the rifts. You're too far, I would say, at this point to see Erebor. Obviously, to the north, you can see the Grey Mountains, which those of you who are Tolkien fans, and I hope that's all of you, will remember, says basically filled with orcs, goblins, and hobgoblins of the worst description. So up to the north, you can see the Grey Mountains, but you're too far away to see Erebor. And where you are right now on the land itself, the waste is basically this complete blasted heath, right, where you have just ash and cracked earth and, wood that has been burned and incinerated buildings here and there. And there's just a couple of shrubs and thorns, and then, as it describes it here, endless beetles and maggots. So there's lots of insects of that type, and there is some water, but it's all in like sulfurous pools and things like that. So it is
Slimy but nutritious.
yeah.
Yeah, some people pay really
Did I
good
quote
fees to
that
go and,
correctly? I only watched Lion King like in English once, so I'm not
Pretty
sure
much,
about the
you got it.
Sulfurous pools have a long history of healing and being beneficial to taking the waters and stuff like that. So
Yes, I think if all of you were yourselves beetles or maggots, I think this would be well suited to sustain your lives.
Well, I mean, like
but-
in some interpretation, like like if we like go like way back to like the Inception of Inception, is it the word?
Insection?
the insection.
No, like when like Tolkien thought up like his whole
Yes.
vegetarian thing, and like originally, like I mean, obviously it was like very inspired by the Norse sagas and stuff.
Right.
And like dwarves in that one are described to be the maggots that were feasting on the flesh of Ymir. Ymir? How do you pronounce it in English? I don't know.
Emu.
First.
Not
No?
emu.
Ostrich.
No.
Yes, the Norse myths have maggots feeding on emus. That is
Yes.
100% Njal Saga. It says there right in chapter 1.
What is
And-
happening today?
and
What is
Scar-
happening?
Anyway, like
and
the first
Scarpedon
giant.
did feed upon the dwarven maggots.
Oh my
Like the
God.
first giant who like died and then became the earth
Yes.
basically. So
Hmm.
like dwarves in a certain sense are maggots. So do I get any bonuses?
I was waiting. This is always how it happens, right? Is that Terry starts with like, something interesting. And then we go through this long wandering path that leads to something to which I say no. And,
Yes. See, that's what I was referring to.
I'm sorry, I can't. I mean, as much as I want to support you getting bonuses, that just sounds like anti-dwarf
I
propaganda.
was just gonna say, like,
from,
dwarves are maggots, right? I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Really?
I just don't. It echoes rhetoric that is very bad. So I think I would just like to avoid trying to.
Well, I
use-
mean, like all the bodily fluids became like rivers and stuff, so that's like even more.
Yeah, but
So, like-
crucially, that is not. That is not something that white supremacists talk about with reference to rivers, I guess. So.
Yes,
You know,
the suggestion.
Wait, why white supremacists?
Talking about like a people as like cockroaches or maggots and stuff like that is
Right.
a current rhetorical strategy employed by the worst elements of humanity.
Yes.
Whereas
I see.
recalling the fluvial origins of actual rivers and stuff like that tends not to be. So
I see.
that's why the weirdness is inflected differently.
As a druid, I would like to state for the record that maggots are actually really good.
The maggots are delicious. Okay.
No, I mean
mean,
they're beneficial.
They're
Oh
better
well.
than sure.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
sure. That's fine.
I mean, imagine like if all those corpses were just like lying around
Huh.
instead of like being.
I mean, if you've got a wound
Unmade.
in your leg that's infected and there are maggots in it, do not take them out. They are going to eat the necrotic tissue that is going to poison you if you don't get rid of it. Just let them do their work.
I also watched Gladiator, but
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I knew that.
I know.
before
I knew you
Gladiator.
knew that independently.
I
but
Also-
I will
also
say,
watched Gladiator.
That black guy who picks out the maggot, he's hot. Ooh.
Very
Anyway,
good.
back to the
Right.
adventure.
Meanwhile, as we're let's return to the
dreamt of
land of the
maggots.
waste.
I dreamt of maggots, and by that logic, I'm going to say that it's a dream, and that
It's
we
a
should
dream,
no longer
exactly.
be in the waste. We should
Yes.
not be in the waste
Sadly,
anymore.
none of those things are true. So in any case, that's the sort of land that we're looking at, and so there is no map, Bolo, in answer to your question, for the area in front of you. In fact, one of the
The
problems.
longest answer to a question I've ever
I was just gonna say it was a long period of time. So about that waste, it's a waste. Part of the problem is that the waste itself is, relatively speaking, featureless. It just goes on for miles and miles, looking more or less the same. And the party, of course, has had to cross over the waste. Not you didn't, Bolo, but Tawny and Inga and the River have had to cross over it once before, some time ago, before they were the heroes of Dale. And it was not a pleasant experience, and it's not a pleasant experience now. The one
I
thing,
feel like that should make it this known lands for us. We've
no,
been through it twice.
it's lands that you wish you didn't know at all.
We
That might be
befriended a
better.
dragon. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Is that how you see it? You befriended him? That's,
I mean,
This is
curious.
a lovely gift.
Yeah, we like
from
opened
Master.
up the sanctuary and the wizard heath.
Yes, yeah, exactly. No, not so much. Anyway, Bolo, so there's no map
Okay.
available to you, but you can, if you wish, though, you can try to make essentially an investigation check to find the tracks. Now, I will say here that mechanically speaking, you're going to be allowed to make basically one check per half a day. So
Okay.
to try to find these tracks down. Cliff, however, can't help you on this check because this is not about horses or anything else. This is your skill as a scout, basically being
Yeah.
able to track it down.
So
So yeah, go ahead.
okay, I'm gonna make a bid for an advantage check by saying
I will
if
give you one.
this is possible. What?
I will give you one.
Without spending inspiration, sorry, Brad. You say your thing. I also have stuff.
Well, okay, so if the trouble is that the ash is covering the ground, and I know this might take a bit longer, but in order to not lose the track, what I'm thinking is I'm going to propose that we take slow steps and every once in a while just stop and literally sort of sift through the ash and make sure we're still on the right track.
Oh,
We
I
may
think
still lose
yeah.
it, but I'm thinking that
On the
might help.
desert.
Narratively, I love that. In fact, that's exactly what should be happening, and I think mechanically, that's not going to have an effect on the how it works. Trend inspiring you means that you've got that inspiration to work. And here's why the two checks, and then I'll let you talk in a second, Mal. But just there's two checks here. Normally you can get one check for a half day, and that's basically exactly, Brad, what Bolo is doing. Like the way to get that check is to sift through the ash, stopping every however many feet. You can do mechanically 2 of those checks in a day, but if you spend an entire day in this fashion, then you're going to get a level of exhaustion. So one check you can do without that. If it doesn't work and you need to take a second check, then there is a level of exhaustion that you will take as a result of all of this extensive searching. So that's basically the idea. Now I will mention too. There's two ways. So let me rephrase this. There's two ways to do this. One, you do just the regular check, and you can do 2 of those checks. If both of those checks fail, then at that point you can decide to spend a day just doing what you've just described, basically, Bolo, and sifting through the ash, etc. as you go. That will get you a level of exhaustion, but then you will absolutely find the track. So you can either take every day and do 2 checks and do that without having to worry about exhaustion, or you can voluntarily search for the entire day, be guaranteed to find it without having to do a check, but then you will take a level of exhaustion.
Well, I mean, I think initially we would
presumably do the check to begin with. Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then we might grow more desperate and try to find it.
Yep.
So before you make that check, so I wanted to see whether Stone can assist with this, since investigation is something that he usually grants advantage on, and especially because I imagine that in the absence of like sight tracking, like smell tracking is probably a thing that.
Yes, I would say so. Cliff can't aid in these efforts, but there's nothing that says that Stone can't. So I would say so, although if that's the case, so I'm going to let Stone help on one of these checks, not both, River. And
that
so
makes sense because it's kind of more about like orienting towards where the smell is, and I can see
So what I would say is, Tren, if you want to keep that inspiration with Bolo, then Bolo can use advantage granted him by Stone on that first check. And then the second check, if he wants, he could use the inspiration you just granted him for that second check if needed. That's what I would say.
Hang on to the one I gave him until he needs it.
Right. Okay. Cool. Just want to make sure.
The other thing I was going to ask about, was if Bolo fails this, in the event of like Bolo pursuing a path that gives exhaustion, is that the whole party is gaining exhaustion, or is it just
no,
him?
just Bolo?
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Right.
That's fine then.
No, I didn't mean to say. Sorry, I said because I was so surprised that wasn't the case. Because I figured we'd all be. I'm not making an argument for the rest of us to get exhausted. I'm miserable, damn it.
No, it would just be
already.
It would just be the scout.
Oh no, sorry. There was one other thing because you asked us to remind you of this. We do also have a +1 to all skill checks from the extraordinary meal or something.
Oh yes, that's right. Okay.
So in addition to all of the bad things, we do
yes.
get +1 on our checks.
All right. So I'm investigating.
I would like you to make an investigation check. Plus
this one's with
going
Stone.
to be, and this is with Stone, so it will be at advantage, and you get +1 to the roll. This is going to be a difficult check, though.
I guess 17.
Yeah, you sift through the ash, and for a while it seems as if Stone might be going in the right direction and helping you. You actually go, I would say, a good half hour in one direction with Stone kind of snuffling along. And then at one point, Stone kind of lifts his head, looks at you mournfully. His snout is kind of covered in ash and soot, so you have to kind of brush it off. And all he has done is brought you to what looks like basically a small little, what used to be a rough tree, which is obviously now long dead, just kind of blackened, growing out of the waste. And it's possible maybe that at some point one of the dwarves / people that you're following, the humans that you're following, the men, might have at some point stopped by this tree, but there are no tracks leading away from it. It's essentially a dead end. And so that check does not succeed, sadly.
17 does not succeed.
17 does not succeed.
I hate the waste.
17 does not succeed. Not good enough. So,
wasted roll.
Before we go, if we arrive at this tree, River wants to do something.
Okay, yeah, you can arrive at the tree if you want. Well, actually, I mean, I guess if you're following, I assume you're all following behind Bolo. So yes, that's fine.
Yes.
So when we arrive at this like blackened husk of a tree and stuff, River is going to take out her little belt knife and is going to carve a rune into the tree that basically says, I'm not sure if this is possible to do this with a rune or not, but she's going to basically,
River was here.
well, sort of, and essentially,
this is
River
Hagia
loves
Sophia?
Ash heart. You know?
Yeah, TR heart A. Yeah.
you guys, I'm trying to do something heartfelt. Every time I try to do this, you make it funny.
All right.
Heart.
Anyway, no, it's a horrible, dark, blasted, and terrible place, and in an act of kind of quiet, grim defiance of it, she is going to carve a rune or message into the tree that basically says that keep going, don't give up hope, there is a way out, you know, something like that, but rendered in something that is the equivalent of like a light in a bright place, and she's just going to leave it there, like defiant graffiti.
Like the
Even though
Elvish
she is-
rune for persevere or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Very nice.
she's
Elves
going
don't
to
have
do that
runes.
there. Hmm?
Elves don't have runes.
Well,
You know, I mean, she has seen at least a few dwarven runes and stuff.
Yes.
I mean, she doesn't speak dwarven and stuff, but you know, she has.
No,
the
I
ones
believe
active.
like that dwarven runes are more or less more widely known. Not like the dwarven language, Kustur, but like
Yeah.
the runes
Okay.
themselves. Yes, absolutely, I believe so.
Very cool. So that is very nice. So you do that, and that, you know, as you sort of look up from the tree, you think perhaps at one point you might see some kind of movement in the distance, and then you think it might actually be just a couple of beetles that are kind of burrowing below the ash again as you look upriver. But it stays there, highlighted against the at this point, I guess it would be early afternoon sun, basically, as it continues in its kind of dull gray track across the sky. So this gives you a chance to do a second. So you have a chance now, Ebola, to do a second check. And that is going to be done without advantage unless you use the one that Trend just gave you, in which case you could do it again, this time at advantage. Stone can't help on
I
this
will.
second one.
I'll use it.
All right.
Important
So
to
again,
get back
plus
on
one
track.
at advantage.
Nope.
No.
Damn it.
Nope. Continues to as you head into nighttime, it continues to defy you. The area here, part of the problem, as I mentioned, is that the fact that it's so desolate that there aren't many landmarks to work with either. But the other thing is that you get the impression that it probably wouldn't have been easy to be like, they were moving a little bit quicker. You may remember I described the idea that the tracks were a little wider apart to suggest that they were moving faster. But it is possible. It's hard to believe anyone could have like really booked it at top speed across the waste. So it's possible that when the ash actually covered those tracks, part of the reason that it did so is that the tracks are not frantic. You know, they weren't banging into trees and stones as they were running away. They were moving at a decent pace, but they weren't running. Either way, it means, Bolo, that you get to the next, that evening, and everyone sort of feels the effect of not knowing where to go, and being stuck there as the night sets in.
So
Can Inge make an educated guess on where the people we are following might be going? Like based on location and the direction we've been traveling?
No, the original thought would have been, Inga, that you thought they would have headed for something like, let's say, the Grey Mountains or something. That might make some sense. But these tracks were heading straight east once they went up and turned east to go into the waste. And you don't really know why on earth anyone would want to go that way, and B, why you would go across the entire level of the waste to do it. You know, like what would be the point of doing that way? Your educated guess might be, let me pull up the
Like
overall
note that
map
these
here
are
for a
not
second.
known lands to her.
Right. So, you know, across the waste, if you continue to head over to the east, eventually the dwarves might make their way to the Iron Hills. But if they're going to do
But
that,
why would they
didn't
go through the waste?
Yeah, exactly,
They would
yeah.
go through the upper marches.
Exactly, yeah. Right. So,
Quick
Do we
question.
like know? Wait, can you go back to the other map?
oh,
please?
sure, sorry.
Gib map clicks.
There we go.
Okay. Do we know what lies roughly in this direction here?
Above the Iron Hills, to the north, not really. Run is to the south of the Iron Hills. The area there becomes almost, a lot of mountainous area up there where not even dwarves go. There are some ancient creatures that it's rumored spend some time there. Even some dragons occasionally have been known to wander up there. But that area is almost impassable. So if you had to guess, you're almost certain that they must be going somewhere in the waste is the only thing that makes sense to you. Somewhere in the waste to find what they, or whatever it is that they're going to find.
Be right back.
Okay, so yes.
Are we making camp?
Yeah, I would assume you would. Otherwise, you're going to have to do this over the evening. Bolo, you do have the opportunity to spend the entire evening looking for this if you want to take that little level of exhaustion, devil's bargain, so to speak, that I mentioned. Otherwise, you'd have to wait until the next day.
By the way, we got exhaustion because of fleas, right?
Right, fleas, that's right. Which you've now managed to mostly get rid of.
So I have comb and some... Oh, okay, so we did get rid of them.
You did get rid of them. In fact, I think you mentioned that you were using the comb last time.
Yeah, I have a comb and I have soap, so I would have used some time to see if I could help the situation with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right, Arunel. Shadow fleas. That's what these are. Definitely. Shadow fleas. Fell fleas.
So I don't. Okay, actually, first I'll see if Brad wants to make that decision or not. But if not, if you prefer to rest, there's a thing that River would like to do with Bolo.
Well, it's somewhat a party decision, but I'm a little bit worried about the tracks getting older, even more difficult the more that we wait. So my inclination is to take the exhaustion so we can find the track.
And we'll have to do it again the next day, or
no? If you find the track, you find it. It just means you have to deal with the exhaustion. But
oh, okay. But he doesn't have to roll for it. He just gets it automatically.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, cool. All right. I was going to.
It's evening. So we're probably not. So let me ask. Tomorrow, if I don't take the exhaustion, I assume we camp, and then tomorrow I could.
You get 2 more checks, basically. Yep.
Then again, if you take the exhaustion, I don't know if Tawny still has honey cakes and stuff.
7 more.
7 more, right?
You have how many more?
7.
Well, then in that case, if I can use that, then it's probably worth it.
You can.
Also, I think that. At what point does the exhaustion start affecting your rolls? Is it the first level or the second level?
Well, 1 level of exhaustion, as it is, 1 level of exhaustion will have an effect on you. It will.
I think it's ability checks.
Just ability checks, I believe.
But yeah, attack rolls are not. But then the second one, it starts affecting them.
Yeah, it's disadvantage on ability checks. The second level, your speed is halved. And then when you get to level 3, you have disadvantage on attack rolls. When you get to level 6, death. Just death.
Your heart gives out. Okay. Yeah. Then I'll, take the exhaustion, find the track.
Okay. So, and I just want to paint the visual here because as you do this, and I like the idea that you're searching wearily through with Stone kind of occasionally trying to help a little bit, although Stone really can't at this point. But you're digging wearily through. So we see as as nighttime sets, it is late at night and a dull gray kind of lights the landscape. And there's Bolo kind of digging away almost on hands and knees going through this. And at one point, Tawny goes over and kind of kneels down and hands over one of the honey cakes, and Bolo has a couple of bites and then continues to kind of proceed through. And eventually, and it's actually Bolo, oddly, it's just in that moment of the evening, people will know this, very early morning, where it's just the darkness is beginning to lighten slightly, but you haven't actually seen, the sunrise yet. It's that grayness, that darkness leading into a slightly less dark and more grayness that you finally track down from a good distance from where you were, probably several hours actually, because you kept going in different directions, finally managed to track down where the tracks are. And they proceed again more or less east. The first thing you find is actually what is clearly one of the boots of the creatures that you've been finding, one of the that you've been following, one of the humans. And there is also what looks like a drag mark behind these boots, as if something or someone has fallen and is being dragged along behind them.
When Bolo finds the track, River, who has been very quiet this whole time and is very much kind of inside her own head and looking very grim and just being very quiet, when Bolo finds it, she will just go up to him and just sort of I want to say, like, because it's not like a jubilation or anything, but it's as much as she can manage in this moment, which is to just kind of like clap him on the shoulder with like really kind of firm, almost desperate force, and just kind of whisper, "Well done."
Bolo, this has been wearing on him, and not the responsibility, the importance of his task and stuff has been weighing on him. So he just takes a deep breath and just gives the river a hug.
Aww.
Very nice.
And then continues on.
She kind of leans over, crouches down, and hugs him as well. And I'm gonna say that Stone half-heartedly wags his tail. And joins in on
Yeah, he does the same with Stone. Ruffs his fur.
I think that River is also going to want to say like keep the boot, if only for Stone to be able to kind of track scent more effectively. And stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant boot print, not boot.
Oh.
You don't actually find the boot print. No, sorry.
Yep.
I beg your pardon. Boot print. But the dragging, what I meant was that you started to see the print of the boots that you had found before. With the but the dragging. But I do want to point out, Bolo, that the drag behind you is new. You did not that's not something you had noticed before you lost the trail and now picked it up again.
Inga would like to have a very close look at that boot print to see if, like, based on the shape of it, she can maybe determine what, like, region/culture that boot might be from.
I mean, just the size of it will probably determine, right?
Right.
If it's a dwarf or not.
No. This is not like a human boot or a dwarf boot.
Oh,
No,
okay.
this like I'm thinking more of like because like different cultures have like obviously different ways to make shoes.
Right.
So like and based on that, shoe prints would be different. Boot prints would also like be different.
Is that something
So-
that Inga would know about, though?
Well, she is like widely traveled.
And she's a cobbler, so
I
whatever.
was just about to say, I'm like, and as we know, she's a stone cobbler, and
What is a stonemason but a cobbler of walls?
what I'm gonna actually ask you to do is I will have you make
She's a wanderer, you know.
yes,
She's a
that's true.
wayfinder.
I'm gonna have you make an investigation check. I'm gonna have you do it at disadvantage. I think that's a reasonable.
Do I still get the +1 though?
Yes, you'll get the +1, but at disadvantage though.
What about a history check?
No, I mean,
No.
No,
many people have
no,
worn
it's
boots in the past.
investigation.
Drag race.
It's investigation. He said it.
Or tradition?
Okay, so that is 13.
Yeah, it's not easy to tell, Inga, other than the obvious, which is that it's definitely human-sized. It is not goblin or whatever small-sized like the other creature that is supposedly traveling with them, and it's not dwarf-sized either. Almost certainly human-sized of some kind. You will say that the boot print looks to be relatively well preserved, by which I mean the tread is pretty clear, which suggests that the boots are a little newer. Not necessarily brand new, but they're not worn, from like many, many miles of travel, like thousands of miles of travel or something like that. So the boot is not all that old.
Okay, but look, here's like an easy question, like
Sure.
something she would absolutely be able to tell. Are there indentations based on there being rivets on the soles?
No, not that you
Ba-
see.
Okay, good. So these are not traveling boots. These are regular boots.
Yeah, that's right. Hmm.
Okay.
My question here is it like the drag mark and stuff, is that something that we can tell is like that of a smaller creature?
No, it's impossible to tell. Well, I mean, yeah, it's not an enormous creature, but it's impossible to tell. It certainly wasn't like a pony, because it would have left something longer than that. But it could be anything from a dwarf to a goblin to a human. It's
Okay.
impossible to tell.
Cool.
Once you track this down, Bolo, and you wake everyone up, and you've been woken up by your honey cake, such the extent that you can, you're able to show everyone the direction of this, and it is just as the light is becoming more visible, less gray, and beginning to brighten slightly over the waist, that you all sort of set your weary way along the path again. And it takes you probably another maybe 2 to 3 hours or so of travel following this path. And really, much of it is just going on the basis of a couple of these boot prints. You do see some more here and there, so it's definitely not just one person is all that's left. It seems like it's the same group of people that you have been following. But you do notice that there are a couple more of those drag marks as you go along, Bolo, almost as if other things are now being dragged, or people or creatures are being dragged behind the group. As you
I
go
wonder if they're
along.
like low on water, or like people are going unconscious and they're dragging more of them along
Could
the
be.
way or something.
Could be.
Any blood?
You have not
signs
seen
of
any blood. No, there does not seem to be any blood here, although it might have been sucked up by the ash
Dark
as well.
patches.
Yeah, no, you
Well,
don't
maybe
see any
it would
dark.
be a different color.
No,
probably.
exactly. Yeah, no, you don't see any dark patches or anything like that.
All right.
And the wind actually has settled a little bit. And it is, I would say, about 3 hours or so later that I would like Bolo, you please, to make a perception check.
Mm,
Okay, and let me also
Always
have
with me.
let me have the River, who's playing lookout here. Let me have the River do a perception check as well, and actually, and do one for Stone while we're at it. Those 3.
Okay. And we're both at disadvantage, but we still get +1.
Yes,
right?
correct.
So let's just roll high, shall we?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
an
all you
idea.
can do.
See?
Hey, sadly, yeah.
No, so that's an 11 from River.
Right.
And this is wait. What is perception based on again? Because I don't
Wisdom.
have.
Wisdom, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Perception. So never mind. I have one for perception +6 is what. So his passive perception is 13. Just FYI.
Mhm.
And this is hopefully gonna make perception happen.
Yep.
Great.
Ah.
Nice.
Thank you. And
So-
that is a 23.
So Stone is, snuffling along and sniffing, and then Stone stops and looks up, and he kind of tilts his head, and then he kind of stops. He's frozen, and you can see, in the way that someone who's owned a dog will know what I mean, the tension of the body, like all of the focus along the body towards where the direction of the dog, and Stone is actually staring in front. He kind of tilts his head, and then he's staring ahead of him. Now, all you see is kind of like the same featureless landscape of little hillocks and stuff like that, but he's definitely tilting his head and then staring as if he hears something coming from in front of him. You certainly don't see anything, but there's also a hillock in front of you, so you'd need to maybe go over that a little bit. So he hears something for sure.
So River is gonna make the rest of the party stop and is gonna say, just raise an arm and just and say, Stone's caught something, and is squinting in that direction. Is going to invite the others who perhaps have not made perception checks yet to also look towards there.
Yes, I think you can do that now. That makes sense. So Tani, you and Inga can both make perception
Yes,
checks now,
and
please.
I get double proficiency bonus because we are in the wilderness, correct?
Yep, definitely are. This would
Yes.
definitely fit.
Yes, because I have a feat for that. So, but is that a straight roll or?
Yeah, you're
Uh,
not miserable.
Yeah, you are not. Yeah, because you're not miserable. So for you
Yeah.
that would be you. I guess if you're doing double percept, yeah. So it would be a straight roll except for the +1.
Okay,
for skill
so
check.
okay, so first of all, okay, so I rolled that. That
Right.
would be first of all 12, and then +3 again, so that would be 15.
Okay. That means that both you and Tani, you as you stop and listen on the breeze coming from the hill over the hill in front of you, you hear this chunk, 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 ks, and then chunk, 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 ks, chunk,
Hate it.
chunk,
I hate it so
chunk,
much.
as if something is hitting the ground repeatedly, and then it sounds like something, maybe loose soil or something, is being shifted. So chunk, chunk, chunk. Psst.
Sounds like hydraulic.
Yeah, I don't want to make it too mechanical.
Wait,
It's
take
definitely.
This is some what is it called? Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
You know,
This is actually
mechanic-
Mad Max, right? Like you come across. Yeah, it's Bartertown. No,
I-
it's not that mechanical, but it definitely does have. It is repetitive though, and similar sounding.
I think this calls for Bolo and Inge going to sneak up and check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, is there anywhere we can, like, in the landscape we presently are in, is there a kind of, like, hiding that we can do?
Well, yeah, you can sort of, because since you're looking at this hillock in front of you, you can kind of just, if you imagine it almost like a sand dune, although it is an ash dune, you could just crawl up the side of it and kind of peek over. So I would say that you could get some, I wouldn't say cover, but you definitely wouldn't necessarily be seen unless the person's staring right at, the other side waiting. So,
Okay.
yeah, no, it did not move to Eberron, Trivet. So if you're going to do that, Bolo and Inga, you can both make stealth checks for me, please, as you climb up to the side of the hill. Wow.
Inge hands the reins for Lilleman to 20.
Also to Clifford, even, who's with us still.
It's true. Clifford
Right,
has been.
he's not on the.
Yeah,
phone,
Clifford
is
has
he?
been hanging out next to him, and
Okay, yeah, then Clifford. Okay, stealth.
Bolo buries himself in ash, vanishes from view completely.
Wow, that is awful. An 8.
Roll around in the ash first,
Yeah, exactly.
and then I go up there.
So Bolo, you just move up like you can barely, you're quieter than the maggots around you, right? Whereas Inga's just like, all right, I think I'll do it this way. Chunk, chunk, as you kind of make your way up. Your boots get stuck a little bit, Inga. It's kind of frustrating. But you do manage to get up to the top of it. And fortunately, nothing is waiting on the other side to see you. But you do see something else. And I'm going to ask, first of all, I'm going to talk about this and then I'll ask for something else mechanical. When you get up to the top of the hill, the little hillock, and sort of you're all lying down, so you kind of pull yourselves up over. Bolo and Inga, you can both see that a couple hundred feet from your position, a few hundred feet away, on what looks like another low, wide hillock. So it's lower than where you are right now. There's a little hill that you're on the top of, and then you're looking down almost into like a very little mini valley. Very mini, but you know what I mean. It's lower than your position. And on a low, flat hillock, you see there are 4 dwarves who are busily digging in the ground with pickaxes and mattocks, and that's that sound, that chunk, chunk thing. And they are being watched over by a strange menagerie of creatures. There are at least, from what you can tell, 6 tall, bony, orc-like brutes with long arms and flat faces that are standing there. And they are talking right now to a group of hooded and cloaked figures that are definitely not orcs. If you had to guess, they are perhaps some humans. But in front of the humans is one small, almost crouching, cloaked figure that is speaking to one of the orcs. And so they're all watching over the dwarves. And there are, as I mentioned, probably a good, there are probably about 8 or so of these cloaked figures And then there's, as I said, 6 of these orcs. And one of the orcs is talking to the short cloaked figure. They seem to be having a rather animated conversation of some kind. And the dwarves that you can see, Inga and Bolo look extremely weary. One of them has a very long white beard, and they like swing, but now you can see why it may have sounded mechanical, because they're just like chunk, chunk, like they've been doing this for a long time. They look exhausted.
And they're a few hundred feet away.
Yes, a few hundred feet away, that's right.
Too far to shoot with arrows.
Probably.
Does the number of people match up with how many people I determined a while back we were tracking?
It does, and that gives me a chance to let you know that you folks have arrived at the end of the journey for the moment, so you get to make an arrival roll. So, this was severe terrain, or hard terrain, I should say. So that's a -1. So for the guide, which of course is you, Inga, I'm going to be asking you to roll a d8.
Don't do it yet. Wait till we have inspiration. Okay, don't roll.
I was gonna ask.
Okay.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
Okay,
Sorry,
and then you're
sorry,
gonna, and when this dit's done, it's going to be a d8. It's going to be -1
But it has
to
a +1.
the arrival roll, +1 because of the food, so it
That
means it's just a
neutralizes.
flat roll. Yes. So, and right, yep. So that's what it is. It's going to be a flat d8, depending on what all you decide to adjust it with inspirations or whatever now.
Yeah, does anyone want to inspire me? Maybe.
Maybe use somebody typing it right now.
Let's see. Because I have an inspiration to use if the chat's not gonna do it.
Well, I mean, it's the end of the month, so
Exactly,
this
exactly.
is the time to get rid of all your inspirations.
You'll have to
How do
argue
we-
with my D&D with my Salt Marsh people that I'm going to be doing next about that.
Screw those.
Sure, get them in here
How
right
do
now.
we check again who has inspiration? I always forget.
Oh, sure. I can do that. It's
Dash has. I can't
Yep.
remember.
inspiration -have. Hey, what's up, Echo?
Exclamation point. Inspiration dash.
So this is who's got Ninja. Thanks, Runel. So yes, you have 1. Echo has 2, but he's saving them for Salt Marsh. And I think that's the only ones that are in here right now that have them. So it's it looks like it's you or bust, Amel. Unless
Oh.
Hilness shows up. He sometimes shows up during the day.
All right. Well, yeah.
I mean, listen, chat, if anyone wants to support the Patreon now and gain inspiration, this would be a
I'm
time
going
to...
to inspire Inga right
Yay! Thank you.
now. And
Makes
and here's
sense.
hoping, roll high. But I'll also, yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping some inspirations might be forthcoming if we enter a combat situation at which the glass cannon of the party.
I can state with
am at
fair
disadvantage.
certainty, Rob would absolutely give his inspiration to this as well.
actually
But
true. Is
he's
he
not
here?
here.
No,
All good.
Okay, so thank you for inspiring me. In that case, yes, I'm gonna use my inspiration for this D8 you said.
Yes, D8. And this will just be a flat roll. No, that's important, Rudnell. That's not... You are...
Aha! That's an 8.
Okay, I was going to say, I was like,
Natural
11?
eight?
What? Okay. Wow.
No, like I rolled 2 dice.
Check
you
you
have
out.
to,
No, I
like,
gotcha.
ignore the
I gotcha.
second line.
So as you sort of look over and you see the dwarves, Inga, as much as it's, you're weary and tired and you feel the shadow growing upon you, there is a sense here of the dedication that you've had to each other. And perhaps I would say you remember in the back of your mind. In fact, I'm going to cutscene this for a moment. River, there is a moment where perhaps in your mind's eye, you see a raven alight in front of the tree that sometime before you had placed this rune, and kind of looks up at it and tilts its head and then takes off and flies over. And as you are sort of looking over and you see the dwarves, there's a moment where something catches your eye, and just to the left, a raven, and it catches your eye because nothing has been moving here except beetles and maggots, as I said. But this, clearly a raven, sort of circles overhead, and something about the sight of the ancestral friends of the dwarves brings you a sense of determination that you fought through this horrific place and you have somehow come to it and found the dwarves. At least they're not all gone. At least you have a chance. the result of this is you are inspired and filled with hope, and the mechanical effect of that is he gets ready for the party to lose their you know what. Everybody here gains inspiration, Tani, Bolo, Ing, and the
Nice.
river, and each member of the company may remove 2 points of shadow.
Yes. Oh, we love to see it.
And everybody weeps. Thank God.
Oh my god!
That was a good roll, Terry.
Yes, it was. Highest.
Yes, I'm
surprise.
very skillful at these things. Thank you.
Sorry, don't leave me hanging. Don't leave me hanging. Yes, great, amazing, hooray!
All right, so just to update. So Inga now has 8 shadow points.
Yes, sir.
Bolo has 2. River has 3. Stone has 1. Only 1. And Tani has 4. Sorry, what, Tani? That's right? Okay, so there you go. I feel nothing. I just missed it. What happened? They arrived at the end of their journey. There's an arrival roll effect life.
No, we
and
arrived.
They've arrived, and the arrival, they rolled extremely well. And because of that arrival, and it's a good thing, by the way, if you had rolled a 3, that would be not so hot. But rolling an 8 was pretty much the best they could have gotten and allowed them to remove some shadow. And this has been some, I mean, they still have a decent amount of shadow among them, but man, so that was a lot better than it could have been. So with this sort of awareness in your mind, you now look. Now that's the good news. The not so good news, though, is that these other ones are actually here. Also, yeah. So anyway, yes. So good stuff. But you still see them on the other side. There's a lot of people down there.
I genuinely, so this is okay. I want to make very clear. This is not me attempting to like bargain more than we have gotten. I'm just curious to know, partly to figure out how to play this. How does this interact with Miserable? Because like obviously like a big, hopeful thing has just happened.
Right.
A weight has just been lifted.
Yeah, it doesn't affect Miserable beyond the shadow points, though. Being miserable is it is it can be interconnected with shadow, but it's more of a way to think of it as shadow points can eventually lead to the miserable state, but you can also be miserable for other reasons that are not related to shadow. So it's not just like you reach a certain threshold of shadow and then you're automatically miserable, but if you're below that, you're not. Misery can come from different sources.
No, that's exactly what
so.
It's chronic depression versus seasonal depression.
So it doesn't. They don't necessarily connect to each other. I would say that. Yeah, I mean, I guess the way to look at it, Amal, is the inspiration that you've all gained is kind of a temporary counteracting, right, to the miserable condition anyway.
Gotcha.
So, but to remove being miserable, you're going to need a longer rest from a sanctuary point of view, etc. Anyway.
So I'm thinking of this, I guess, and like genuinely, like the reason I'm asking is partly for like audience purposes and partly for just playing the character purposes. So I'm going to treat this kind of like how. I'm sorry if this comparison is too on the nose, but like, you know how we're all cognitively impaired by the pandemic and we talk about like pandemic brain and stuff like that?
Yes.
I can be very cheerful, but actually am still impaired by the effects of this long thing. That's kind of how I'm going to treat it, I guess.
Yep,
like,
it's a very good way to put it. Yes.
Great. So it's because like the disadvantage is obviously still there. Like it's hard to do things, but she can still feel momentary like liftings of
That's right, and that's kind of why I actually tied in the rune thing, because I mean like that is sort of the reminder of defiance matters, right? I'm in the middle of teaching Two Towers right now in Lord of the Rings class, and the idea of defiance, whether it's coming from Theoden, I just went through that incredible section, which is one of my favorites in Two Towers, which is where he's standing below the tower and Saruman, has just given him like, Theoden, Lord of the Mark, why don't you do blah, 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 blah. And Theoden says this thing, a lesser son of sires I may be, but I do not need to lick your fingers. Like it's the best, like F you, like defiant, like when you hang at the window for the sport of your own crows, then we will have peace. It is the best, like, and it is that exact kind of defiance which matters, because evil wins most conflicts, in fact I would argue in the world, by making you give up before the conflict begins. And those who don't do that and fight anyway often find that they're in a better spot that evil did not expect them to be in. So anyway, sorry about the digression, but yes, so I think that's a good way to describe it. It is kind of defiance that you're feeling, but it hasn't taken away the overall misery, but it has reduced this shadow that grows on your mind. So that is what Bolo and Inga see. You've now done your arrival. Again, I love the journey rules. This is a cool setup, I think. And but those, you can see the situation that's down there. Obviously, there's a lot of people that you have to deal with, and the dwarves themselves. So they have obviously paid no attention to you, Bolo and Inga. The groups are talking to each other and watching the dwarves, and the dwarves are far too weary and focused on their task to note anything else.
Oh, go on.
Well, I was just going to ask, though, for clarification, the one that's shorter in stature, does it look goblin-esque?
There's a pretty good guess that it does, yes. It definitely is too short to be a human, you would say.
Clifford had said, I think, right, that he thought that there was a goblin among the group.
Yes. In fact, that was the one that shot him, in fact.
Okay.
Can Inga at the distance identify any of the individuals?
Make a perception check for me, please.
Who I get my wellness bonus?
Do we have a decent description of Domi at this point?
A reasonable one, yes. An older dwarf, long and white beard.
That's
kind
an 11.
Sort of.
Oh no, 12. Plus 1, 2, right? I get the plus 1 still, or is that over now?
The plus 1 is now officially over because the journey
okay,
is
then
completed.
it's an 11, not a 12.
Okay. Yeah, not really, Inga. You don't notice. And sorry, to finish up what I was saying to Brad. So yes, a long white beard, a face with a great deal of weathered wisdom, and so forth. And one of the dwarves down there definitely seems to fit that description. Looks considerably older than the others. That doesn't mean that is who you're looking for, but it certainly seems to match what you would expect.
Yeah.
As for you, Inga, you do not see anything because they're all especially the humans seem to be taking, if it is a goblin, taking pains to keep themselves hooded and cloaked, as opposed to the others. You're almost positive, by the way, that these groups could not have traveled with each other. You saw no orc tracks for one thing, and the orcs themselves here, mostly they do seem to be wearing boots, but the boots are heavier, and they don't look. They just you didn't hear. This is the first you've ever heard of orcs being involved in any of this. So if you had to guess, this is a second group that has come upon this first group for whatever reason.
How deep have they dug so far? Or does it look like they just started?
No, it looks like they've been at it for a little while. In fact, what you can see is that there is what looks like, it's a little bit hard to see, but it looks like they've dug down and around, and there's sort of two sort of stone spurs, let's say, that are on this flat hillock, almost like a plateau. There are these two stone spurs, and the dirt that they're digging is between those two spurs. So it almost looks like they've unearthed this stone, this sort of stone pillars, almost not pillars, but like sides of like almost like a, as if you're at the top of a mountain, and they're digging down underneath it to get to something, but you can't make out what it is that they've dug out. But they definitely have dug down. You think that they've excavated these stone spurs that you see on either side.
A stone spur?
Yeah, spur being like
that?
kind of a thing that shoots up from a mountain, like a little like a jagged portion that shoots up from a mountain, Terry.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it really
does
is
it
tripping.
look like are there any parts of this area that we can oversee that somebody could be hiding behind? Like some hill, somebody
No,
behind
not
it?
likely. Maybe somebody sort of behind one of those spurs, but you have you can see pretty much to either side of it because you're, as I said, a few hundred feet away. You don't think so? They could be hiding in the ash, I guess.
Can you explain what exactly the landscape at this spot looks like?
Yeah, so you were in a little hill, at the top of a little hill, looking down into almost what looks like a very I keep saying mini valley because I don't want you to think that
Yeah.
it dives down very far. It doesn't. But
So
you
we
are,
do have the high ground.
you do have the high ground, Anakin. Yes. You are above the rest of them right now, and then they are on about a few hundred feet away. They are on this sort of flat plateau-like hillock. And they are digging down into that hillock and have exposed those two stony spurs that I mentioned, those projections, mountainous projections. And they're digging between those two things.
So if they would want to get out of here, they would definitely do go uphill, right?
Yes, a little bit, but not very far.
Yeah.
It's not a very deep valley. That's why I'm trying to. Yeah.
Does it look here like we could basically like all position ourselves like in a like circular formation around them and then like draw into them?
No, you'd have to go a long way to get to the other side of them.
I see.
So your particular hillock is very well suited to look at them from a distance, but
Okay.
to get on the other side would be you'd have to go a long way out of
Okay.
the way for them not to notice.
Then I have no idea how we should deal with this.
Exactly,
But,
Rudenell. It's kind of like a dip. Hey, Hillness.
oh, now there's him.
Yeah, they're gonna need your inspirational presence. It's quite true.
Well, now we are all inspired, but
That's
you
true.
know,
You have
like,
inspirations at the moment. That's true.
yes. For
Um,
now.
To just observe for a bit, and because nothing seems like imminent, does it?
Well, no. They look like basically from what you can see, as you look a little bit further on, Bolo, you can see that a few yards past the digging site is what looks like almost a little circle of stones. And you can see now that you're looking that there is a tent. It was almost concealed behind one of those stony spurs, but you can see there is an actual tent. If you had to guess, that's where they set up camp. So you think they've
Right.
probably been here for at least a day, and probably had no idea that anyone was following them because of the whole ash storm. So, because they certainly don't seem to have, like, they don't have a big watch set or anything like that looking. They're focusing on them down there.
How late in the day is it right now?
At this point, it is about midday, actually, because you found it just as the dawn was arising, and it's been about 3-4 hours or so. So it's probably, if anything, actually, it might even be kind of late morning, like maybe 11 o'clock or so.
Okay, then actually the thing what you suggested about watching them, like actually like waiting till nightfall till they all like, you know, went to lay down and then like surprising them in their sleep. Sounds like a smart thing to do, maybe.
Yeah, at least,
Unless they are expecting reinforcements, which would be bad.
So sorry, is the question about like whether to attack now or whether to do so under cover of night?
Yeah, like just like trying to figure out what like the best course of action is here now.
I think
I just want to get a lay of the land in terms of like what they're doing. I think we should maybe plan on a information gathering mission. If we can catch one of the dwarves at night, you know, during nighttime, sneak in, maybe just talk to them and find out what's going on, because we don't even understand what they're doing at this point, right?
There are 6 of them, right?
There are, so yeah, let me describe the number. First of all, the dwarves you can now see, Inga, are chained together. So
Wonderful.
the dwarves are chained, and there are 4 of them. One older one, and then 3 somewhat younger. I mean, you know, like not young, but dwarves chained together who look extremely weary. It does occur to you actually as you're looking at them, they're pretty messed up. Like you don't know how long, like how much rest they're getting, if any. But anyway, and then as far as the other numbers of people, there are 8 cloaked figures. That counts the one who's smaller. So if it is a goblin, it would be 1 goblin and 7 human-sized cloaked figures, roughly speaking. And then there are 6 of these orcs that are speaking at the moment to the 8, specifically the small one in front of the 8 cloaked figures.
So there are like 16 people here.
There are what does that work out to? 14? There's 14, and then there's the 4 dwarves. So there's 18 total people.
Oh, okay, all right. That is a different situation than I was. I was like, why are we not discharging them? But
18 is
that is a
quite a
little
bit.
bit more than us.
yeah, but like the orcs you said also look like
Weary.
What's it called? Weary? Weary is that
No,
word?
no,
Also,
not
the
necessarily
dwarves
weary.
weird.
Oh,
No.
The-
oh, okay.
The dwarves look weary, which makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So in this case, then waiting for nightfall. I guess the question. Well. Okay, so you haven't relayed this information yet, so we don't
Right. Yeah, it's
No,
wait
like
until Ling and Bolo
Bolo
come back.
and Inge are still sitting on the
Okay.
dune.
Okay. That's fair. I'll hang on until like they relay the information then.
Well, I guess we are gonna get down the dune again and reconvene with the gang.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
do that.
I don't think there's anything else to gather right at the moment.
Okay. So what we have is that the dwarves are being forced to dig in a place that is bounded by like a place that is marked essentially, right? In this spot.
Yes.
And we know that Domi is a scholar of like keeper of great ancient knowledge and stuff, right? So it doesn't seem like a massive stretch to think that Domi may have been captured specifically to find a spot in the waste and then wait.
I've just recalled something from the last time we went here. Didn't we like find like this book which Munin, was that his name? Went to
the
decipher
scholar?
together. Yeah, that Munin and Tony went to decipher. And it turned out that it appears to be that there's like this long network of tunnels reaching from the Grey Mountains to the Erebor.
Yep, this is all true.
So that could be related, actually.
Yes! It was
Yes.
a great moment for Inga to remember that.
Yes, actually.
I had totally forgotten this.
Like I was like, what would like a scholar? What would they need a scholar for? They was like, wait a second, tunnels.
Because I
the mountain?
thought the tunnels had to do more with like once we had gotten close into the withered heath or something. But
No.
I think
Like it
right
said
here.
specifically that it's like that there allegedly was / is a tunnel network connecting the Grey Mountains with the Erebor, if I remember correct. I mean, this has been like what 1.5 years
Hey,
ago.
whoa, guess what? Guess what? We might go down some tunnels.
Woo!
Isn't that great?
Gross.
Huzzah.
Oh god. Anyway, great.
This is one of those moments where it's like, strangely, Bilbo was less affected by anybody else. It's the reverse now. Like, strangely, everyone else felt better than Bolo did here. Anyway.
Oh boy. Anyway, so if Inga is sharing this, then River just
Yes,
kind
she
of
is
like-
sharing that.
Yeah, so River folds her arms and kind of looks over the distance and towards where the dwarves are and says, so if they're uncovering passage somewhere, then there might be more journeying ahead of us. I think we should approach them sooner rather than later. I think we should just attack. We should just attack. The sooner we get out of this place, the better. The sooner we take them out of here, the better.
Well, so our main goal is to find Domi and maybe at this point liberate him. Is that true?
Yes.
I mean, I'm thinking having them as allies before attacking might be a better course.
Well, I was thinking we just bring in some extra weapons that we just toss to them once we get in there.
Yeah, but they're chained.
But like they can still move enough to like operate tools, right? So they might also be able to operate an axe to like, you know.
Inga, your ability to unlock doors and things, does that work on chains?
Oh yes. Oh yeah, that does. That works on any lock.
All
I
right.
have thieves' tools as well.
All right. So I mean,
Unlock
Yes,
locks.
but can you do this? And she like gets out like starts rummaging through her bag and gets out like a padlock and clicks it shut and then like whisper something at the lock, and it just goes click again, and then you can open it again. Haha!
River actually, like, for the first time in days, chuckles.
That's a trick padlock.
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, and you click it shut again, and like holds it to, and toss it as to Bolo. Yeah, open this without a key.
Suddenly
or
you
your
hear
fancy
people
tools.
behind you. What are you doing? Like, because you've been making this sound like chick, 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 chick. Like,
Anyway, River, after that initial chuckle, it just kind of says, "Shh, we are trying to be quiet here, but speaking of being quiet, the more quietly we can unchain them. I mean, I would have said we could break their chains with our own weapons, but if we want to do this as quietly as possible, then yes, possibly waiting till darkness, and just I hate it. I hate being here any longer than we have to. But, and what time of day is it, incidentally?
probably about 11 in the morning. The only issue here seems to be that it is going to take a while before night comes.
Yeah.
And they look pretty
They look pretty
rough.
ragged.
Yeah. For what that's worth.
I just can't bear the thought of letting them be used this way for a whole day. I can't.
So, Ingo, your ability to do that unlocks it. Is that semi-magical? Can you do it without?
It is magic. I was just like browsing to find how it works again exactly. Spells of opening and shutting. This fragment must be recited in front of a door or a gate to magically lock it, or recited backwards to open it, and if locked. The spell has no effect on a door that has been blocked by magic and now requires a particular word to open it. Attempts to break down the door have their DC increased by 10. The spell starts working as soon as you have finished with it. Okay, it does specifically say doors and stuff, so I guess padlocks don't actually work.
Well, no.
Rip.
It says doors and stuff, but
Door or gate is specifically what it mentioned.
But I'm interpreting that as a kind of a square as a rectangle situation. Like I can see it being like a door is not a padlock, like it's bigger and more important than that, but I can see an argument for a padlock being a kind of gate or a kind of door. There's like, and I'm
that's for the DM to decide.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I would say this to the DM, but like to me, that wording is so that if you had an ability that could unlock chains, it wouldn't apply to something like a door. But if you had an ability that could unlock doors, it should apply to something that is
smaller than a door. Yeah, I see.
That's kind of my sense of it.
So, and I'm sorry, I've been trying to like put out different characters for the map situation. So what?
Oh, great! No, the map just got so much worse.
Just making sure we all know, what's on the map. So explain to me what you're trying to use. What are you trying to do here?
Okay, so the idea is if we can use Inge's rune spell, broken spell, that's what it's called, a broken spell, to unlock the chains that keep the dwarves chained together. But like the spell specifically states just like that it is for opening and closing doors or gates. And Amal's reasoning here was since, for example, a padlock is smaller than a door or a gate, it should also apply to that.
Well, the issue is not so much the size. The issue is the nature of what it is that you're opening. The padlocks generally are, or a chain, like a chain lock, is not the same kind of lock as what you would find on a door.
What if a door is like locked with a padlock?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
No, but there are built-in locks too. Your cell, for example, Inga, that you were trapped in that got you wanting to open it, was definitely that was not a padlock. That was a built-in lock that was in the door
what
itself.
would be with like if a door was locked with like
a padlock.
A padlock.
That's something we'd have to think about that. But almost every door you're likely to run into, or that you've run into so far, is locked separate from a padlock. It is its own locking system.
What if it doesn't have a lock, but like like a bar, a beam or something? Like for example, if there's
Probably
like a gate.
Yeah, that depends. I'd have to think about it when we get there.
This is exactly what. So like the argument that I was trying to make is just that like I don't know if you heard me saying like a square is a rectangle, but a
No,
rectangle is not a
yeah.
square, right?
And
So
just to throw in too, that padlocks are generally simpler locking mechanisms than
this
doors.
is
Sure.
exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, the issue is not so much the complexity; it's what the thing is designed to open.
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, what I would say is I probably would allow this to work on one lock, but they are chained together, and it's not just like one big chain with one lock, right? Each of them have manacles that are being, or I should not manacles. I'm sorry, around the feet. So they would have the feet chains.
Fetters, whatever.
Feticles.
The feticles, yes. The manacles around their ankles, right? So, so you wouldn't be able to open all, like those would all require separate opening situations. If you follow what I mean.
But she can open a lock on a chain with that.
I'd have to think about it, but maybe. But I'm
See,
letting you know that it's not like you do it once and it frees them all.
No,
this is
no,
what-
no, no, no,
you
I
do
know
it
that.
for each one. Exactly. Like this
Yeah.
is what I was envisioning was
Like one lock, not one chain. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. Yeah. Like this is specifically what. So I don't want to belabor this too much because I know we want to keep going. But like, to me, if the language in the book is about opening and closing gates and doors, to me that is because gates and doors have a whole bunch of different potential locking mechanisms, and rather than choosing, like, I'm just trying to interpret the spirit of the book here. If like the idea is you can open doors and then you don't have to belabor whether this is, you know, bolted shut or whether it's a intricate locking mechanism from within or blah blah blah. It's like, to me the issue is open or closed, then that is in counter, like that is enclosing a whole bunch of different potential locks so that you don't have to belabor them. So then if, to me, that would apply to a situation where you had a padlock on chains, because you can have a padlock on a door and a door can be opened. So that's just
Yeah, but remember though that part of the belaboring thing is in an attempt not to make this overpowered, so that you can open up every door that exists by simply being like, this was probably simpler than that. This was probably simpler than that. Like, it was not designed to be a skeleton key for all of the doors in Middle Earth. So that's the thing. I'm having to think about it with game balance, not just in terms of like,
true,
that sort of thing.
But this is I feel like if the passage is saying like you can't do this if it's already magically shut, then that's like, I don't know. But the reason I was saying this is probably because I had a cool thing in mind, which was like, if you could, because it's also about magically locking things after unlocking them. And I just imagined putting the manacles on other people there and magically locking them would be quite cool.
Oh, I see.
So
where did this come from? Where did we get you this, Terry? Where did Inga get this in the first place?
She was locked in the room in the.
No, like
no, I know
took
why,
this,
but I wondered what
during
when
a
she
fellowship phase as a
was it?
feed.
Okay.
By the way, it's found on page 105
of the player's guide.
Yes, it's one of the virtues that she took.
Yeah, I also just think it would be really cool to have a dwarf defeat the things with a dwarven virtue on behalf of dwarves.
Okay, but like assuming that she can do that, like now the question is, because like the spell does not say anything about how loud or quiet she has to say the word. So what I would suggest here, like, would be like, depending on like how large the object is she's trying to open, the louder she has to say the word.
Right.
I like that a lot.
So like if it's like a really, like a rather small door that she can just whisper at it, and if it's like a huge gate that she has to shout at it, basically.
Shout at it.
Because it doesn't say anything about volume.
If we're at the Black Gate, you know, she's got to get a megaphone. And...
Yeah, basically.
Open, Edro, open. Well,
open
okay.
sesame.
Here's what I would say about this. I think here's what I would say. If you're going to try to unlock these things, you're not going to be able to necessarily just whisper them. You're going to have to say them to some degree, that in an audible fashion. So there is an argument to be made that because these chains do not look, I mean, obviously you're at a distance, but they don't look to be like super high quality. So you could also just run up and like axe cut them, right? I mean, and so the reason
I do have
bring
a fancy magic axe, so like that one should
Yeah, like
Shouldn't be an
so.
issue.
But the thing that almost certainly. I mean, who knows for sure, but almost certainly you'd be able to cut through them. So in the time that it takes you to just go, smash, and then the second one smash, and the second one smash, this conversation may be moot. I am a little nervous about making this, quite frankly, a spell of opening and shutting, which is explicitly for a door and gate. Making it related to manacles, regardless of complexity. Though I appreciate the arguments being made here, but I'm a little nervous about that because the dwarves of the Lonely Mountain, the general idea was to be able to open and close portals to things. That was stuff of great value to them. I don't really think dwarves, who are notoriously angry at the thought of losing their freedoms and being, sort of brought into servitude and all that other kind of stuff, since it's happened to the dwarves before and they hate it. I don't think the dwarves are going to spend a whole lot of time worrying about opening manacles because they don't wear them. And if they do have them, they smash them, right? So...
My only thing about it, I totally hear that. My only quibble is that obviously Inga literally got the feat in order to imprison someone, partly.
Sure, but in a cell, not under
cell.
manacles, though.
That's true.
Yeah,
but
and what Effect Life said about opening pathways instead of locks is kind of what the spell, I think, is the spirit of the spell. I mean, literally, even look at the picture in the guide. It's this dwarf coming out of a passage that has clearly just been opened through the spell of opening and shutting. So, So that's what I would say. And the point is, maybe we'll have to have this discussion at a later point. We don't need to have it now, I think, because it's going to work out the same. You can probably smash through those chains, which will alert people, but you would alert them anyway, even if you were speaking this,
Yeah, like that would have been the question. Like if there's, the first idea was like to sneak up to the dwarves, use whisper at the locks to open them, and then
Well, all right.
But no, that's not going to work. Okay.
There's at least one more path. I do have thieves' tools, and if I could get to them,
right.
If perhaps a diversion was created, I could maybe unlock them, or if they're on our side, they could use the picks that they have to break those chains.
They are not going to leave the picks with them. Assuming that we are going to attack in the night.
If we want to do this right now,
okay.
Yeah. So if theoretically, if we created a diversion, I got close, tried to unlock them, and couldn't do it. If I fail and wasn't able to do it soundlessly, then they could break them and help us. I could let them know what's going on. That was my thought.
I think it's smarter to wait for Nightfall. In Middle Earth. Hey, great album. Can recommend. Hey.
Nightfall in Middle Earth is an album.
Yeah, that's an album by Blank Guardian about the Silmarillion. And it's really good. Everybody should listen to it if you haven't. It's like the quintessential power metal album.
River looks like literally she's doing what I'm doing right now. She's just like, Tawny, what do you think?
As much as you don't want to wait for nightfall, I think I could probably handle the distraction if we did.
Wait, you're saying we should both wait for nightfall and cause a distraction?
I'm saying if we wait for nightfall, I think I can handle the distraction.
Wait, do we know about the bear walk of the night bear thing?
I don't know.
No, you didn't tell us, did you?
Oh, we don't know. We don't know this one. So River is gonna just kind of tilt her head and say, I don't think that makes very much sense. I mean, you should be the one approaching the dwarves and healing them and helping them to get away.
Oh, I will. After the distraction.
What kind of distraction do I'm not following.
Let me put it this way. If we start the distraction and the people that we're trying to draw off start chasing a bear, don't shoot the bear.
Where would the bear come from?
River is looking at Tawny with slowly widening eyes. Like,
when you say bear.
I thought that the stories about Bjornings turning into bears was slightly offensive cliche. I are you
That is
saying
the best fucking take. Oh my god.
I didn't want to
I thought this
assume,
was-
all right?
I thought this was a racial stereotype.
That's like saying halflings like to cook. Am I right? I mean,
but she really like leans forward. She goes, Tawny, could you turn into a bear?
Sort of.
What do you mean, sort of?
Well, it's not a real. It's sort of a physical yet.
Can you do it right
spiritual
now?
No.
Yes,
that's
show
why
us,
I
show
said
us.
Wait for nighttime.
Oh. Okay.
So you can only do it when nobody's looking? That's what I'm getting here? Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Did you know that I can turn invisible when no one's looking? I'm sorry.
Basically,
That is
I
an
will be
amazing ability, River.
basically I will be sitting here,
Uh-huh.
seemingly asleep, and a part of me reappears somewhere else as a bear, and I can do a lot of scouting in that form, like 3 days in every direction. But I can be seen as a bear, so I could very easily just appear as a bear, draw them off, as any number of them go chasing after this bear, because I'm sure it probably looks tasty to them.
You're probably just going to leave the waste so you can get out of this place for a little bit.
No, I mean,
You can travel 3 days away.
I honestly can't tell if it's River or me thinking, why did we not use this ability while we were scouting out the waste? But anyway, it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. That would have been a great thing to do 3 days ago. But oh well. New abilities, we sometimes forget to use them.
I
Tawny?
didn't forget.
Donnie?
He was being kind to Bolo.
Yes,
So Bolo could make some rolls.
Yes. That's exactly what it was.
Tawny, so you said you're gonna look like you are sleeping, but you are like... What
Awake
happens if
somewhere.
somebody finds your body who's not supposed to find your body while you are bearing around?
it's like
That's a great
Matrix all of a
question,
sudden.
And he has to bear in mind that he's vulnerable in bear form.
Yes. Yes, he does.
Okay, so no, River is kind of nodding slowly at this. Like, all jokes aside, she is just kind of taking this on board and thinking and saying, Clifford and Lillimon stay behind. They can at least wake Tawny if anyone's approaching. Can you be woken out of this state easily? All right. And while Tawny's doing that, we can approach and free the dwarves and get out of there. The less fighting we have to do, the better, I imagine. Tawny, will you give us cakes that we can give them in your absence? If we can get close enough to them, then maybe they can at least be rallied that much.
Take more than half of what I have left, but yes.
All right.
So like I'm gonna assume that they don't sleep with their tools in reach. Do we have enough weapons to arm all of them? Like, I have a spare axe.
I have a belt dagger.
Yeah, I have a quarterstaff.
dagger.
You have a quarterstaff, you said?
Yeah, it's kind of like a walking staff type thing, but yeah.
So it's like a toothpick for anybody else.
For a
For
dwarf,
Tawny,
it's
therefore,
actually
yeah.
pretty comparable, I imagine.
Some hobbits use toothpicks, some use letter openers. You know.
Right.
Well, it sounds like we have the beginnings of a plan.
All right, we wait for nightfall. Tawny lures them away. We get to the dwarves, try to free them, and arm them, and get them ready to fight, and then we smash some orc skulls.
You know, my only
And
concern
like Inge looks like genuinely excited about like the whole smashing orc skulls thing.
the only thing about waiting for nightfall is we don't know how much more progress they're going to make into that tunnel.
Right.
If
We're not
there is
really
a-
sure what they're doing here, right?
Right. We
Digging.
don't know that.
I'm pretty
and
sure they are digging, and that is my dwarven expertise.
No,
at
we
work
can
here.
Very
tell
good.
that they're digging, but whether they find what they are digging in the time before nightfall and that changes the layout of the situation, that will be difficult. Also,
Yeah.
orcs tend to fight better at night.
So do ghost bears.
I don't think that's true. I mean,
Well, they don't fight at all during the day, so.
In my experience with ghost bears.
yeah.
I immediately dropped back into BattleTech, and I'm like, Clan Ghost Bears here?
yeah.
They've got a Kodiak. We're set. Just gonna rip those orcs apart, man.
I'm trying to think if there is anything that we can do with the like that span of time ahead to like to prepare or to I don't know.
Well,
just-
one person should always keep an eye on the camp of them.
Hmm.
You know, like
That's-
always have somebody spying on them,
Okay,
seeing if
that's-
anything changes about the situation.
All right.
Everybody else can, like, use the time to mentally prepare.
All right. Okay. I
Also,
guess
we need to make sure not to make fires, because that would like be a dead giveaway of our position.
I will head back to the. I'll tell everybody. I'm just going to keep watch and see if they're making progress, if things change.
Okay.
Yes, but you also should catch a nap before we attack. So, like, we are gonna
take it in shifts.
Yeah, we are taking
Yeah.
it in shifts.
Okay.
Okay, so when I want to start with Bolo then, because when Bolo goes back over to the hill and you sort of crawl up to look, you can see that the orcs now have gone off, almost really kind of hobgoblin type orcs, have gone off to where there's one little stump of a tree kind of, and 5 of them are gathered around there, and they seem to be sort of snarling at each other and kind of digging, and it looks like they're making a kind of a little camp. So it's a separate encampment from the circles with the tent, Bolo, that you can see. And one of the remaining orcs, who's a little bit taller than the others, is talking to the robed figure, the short-robed figure. And you can hear kind of a there's sort of a sound back and forth. And finally, the two seem to spit on their palms as you're watching, and then clasp palms. And then the short creature turns around and talks to a few of the other cloaked humans, and they move off to kind of go back to the camp. So it looks like the orcs here are staying, at least for the moment. And you can't, again, tell exactly what it is, but you can see that they're doing that. As they're doing that, though, as you look over, Bolo, you can see that every so often the orc hobgoblins there over at the tree, every so often are like, and you see it once in a while, they sort of gesture what looks like, it's hard to tell because hobgoblins always look angry, but they are gesticulating angrily every so often over at the tent, over at the camp where the humans are, and like, and then sort of shake their heads and growl and push each other and then get back to doing their work. Hard to assess exactly, but it seems like this is not the friendliest encounter of all time or interaction. Otherwise, you can see that they are continuing, the dwarves continue to work at it and are digging down further and further. Now, while Bolo is looking, and I'll come back to him in a couple of hours game time-wise in a minute, Tani and Inga in the river, what are you doing during this time while Bolo is off doing his thing?
Stupid
Inga
knock jokes to cheer everybody up.
Whoop, what happened?
Oh no, internet.
Tip 10.
Oh no, I heard stupid knock joke. Oh, there you go. He's back.
There you go.
All right, try that again. Stupid what?
Yes. Stupid knock jokes to cheer everybody up.
Okay,
Is
gotcha.
that actually what you said?
No.
Oh, okay.
Inga would probably scout around a bit.
Okay, what are you looking for, Inga, specifically? Just like
Just like, mainly making sure that nobody finds us, I guess.
okay. Okay.
And also would try to make sure to not leave tracks. Take the time to like erase their tracks and like probably go back a bit to erase those tracks too.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
Okay.
And like see if there's like any useful things she can stumble upon basically here. Like
Okay.
she is not super familiar with this area, so she doesn't know what to expect. Probably not going to find another Entwife on this.
Yes, not very likely. Make let me have you make a survival check for me here, Inga.
Wait, do I get any bonuses on that? I don't think I do.
Maybe in the known lands, but not here, I don't think. That's funny, Rudno. Funny in kind of a oh boy sort of way. And then I'm going to come to the river, and then I'm going to come back to you, Bolo.
What Tawny's actually probably doing is using, he's probably setting things up so that when Bolo comes back, if he wants to make some food, that a lot of the stuff is set up. And
you can do that.
Included some king's foil, since it has a very sweet scent.
Yep.
It might lighten the mood a little bit. And so he's, prepping things to help Bolo make something that might lift people's spirits a little bit.
Okay. Also,
and Inga would specifically check for walk tracks too. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you don't, as you go around, the ash seems to have covered over a lot of this. Thank you for the follow, Todd Steinbauer. So you found, you don't find any warg tracks, and indeed, you don't find a lot of tracks at all here other than the ones that kind of led you to this place initially. It's probably been a very long time since creatures have been here from a distance, and this excavation site, it seems to you, has been more or less undisturbed for some time, if you had to guess. Doesn't look like there's anything around you. One of the benefits of where you are, the waste, is that you also can see things coming from a long way off, and you don't see anything in particular. Although the wind is kicking up a little bit, so the ash is, kind of swirling a little bit. It's not bad though, but it's a little more than it was before.
And she would maybe see if she can gather some twigs and stuff, like in case we might want to do anything with like smoke or something.
Can probably
I'm not sure
gather
about that.
Yeah, a little bit of scrub brush maybe, but there's very little out here of that kind of material. But
never mind.
But Tawny, just one quick note about what you said. As you're sort of putting things together, I assume you're not doing any kind of a fire or a campfire. So if you're putting stuff together, that's fine. You also have the same experience of like ash getting everywhere, like the grittiness of this stuff, including when you're trying to prepare it, but you do the best you can to kind of shield it as the wind kicks up a little bit around you. River, I want to ask what you're doing, and then Bolo, I'm going to come to you. What are you doing, River?
So I'm just I'm going down River Street in terms of I think that something that River is doing is trying to get familiar with stone, of like how to move in this terrain and how to so it's the waste, it's horrible, everything is upsetting, and she can feel that she is not operating at her best. And she's also very anxious and very stressed out at the thought of the dwarves continuing to suffer while they're here. And so in some ways she's a bit like Panther pacing a cage right now. She's kind of trying to try and distract herself from that. She is trying to pay attention to how her feet move in this ash, and trying to do training exercises with Stone from when from much earlier when he was a puppy and stuff like that, to kind of go over footwork things, and if she moves this way, which way is he going to do, practice flanking maneuvers and things like that. In quiet. And when she has kind of done that as much as she can, she is just going to wait her turn to kind of go and watch the camp as well, because she wants to learn that terrain as much as she can. But if there's any time between what she's doing and going there, she's just going to like Fumf sit on the ground with Stone next to her and stare into the distance and try to imagine leaving this place, essentially.
Okay. Okay, as you're able to do that, and of course you're doing so quietly, so as not to attract undue attention. As you're doing that, Bolo, you are looking over, of course, at the hill, and suddenly one of the dwarves, kind of the pickaxe goes down, and there's a shtunk, like a louder chunk. And then there's kind of a shout and a "Rrr!" And then some of the dirt below gives way.
Oh, no.
And the ash kind of goes up. There's a big cloud of dirt and dust. And the cloaked, a couple of the cloaked figures come over, especially the short one, and kind of points down, looks down. And a couple of the hobgoblins hustle over too to look down and look down at what is there. And as
a tunnel or a crypt.
Yeah, I was just about to say, as the dust starts to clear, you actually can now see this. Let me show you on the stream. It looks like this. The dirt has cleared, and you can see some stones have rolled out of the way, and you are now looking at what looks like a half-opened doorway of some kind, or I should say half exposed. I don't mean open, but half exposed doorway. And from what you can tell, Bolo, this thing looks in some ways like it might be some kind of like the closed stone door. You can barely make out what looks like some dwarven runes on it. It's possible that this is a door leading to a tunnel, or it could also be a door leading to, a mausoleum or something like that. Unclear, but it definitely is there. And you can see those spurs that I mentioned now to the left and the right side of this open area. And one of the short one, after this dust is cleared, the short cloaked figure says, "Nah, all right, and then to some of the people around it, and then says in a very rough kind of discernible language now, says, "All right, keep going. You're almost there. We're on the right track. Keep going." And one of the dwarves looks up kind of wearily, having picked himself up from having fallen through. They didn't really fall very far. They just kind of, slid down, and they kind of dust themselves off. "You might give us a bit more time. A bit more time before death!" And points at him and then says, "Get back to work!" And at that point, one of the orcs says to the goblin, or whatever it is, but presumably it sure sounds like a goblin now as you're looking at it, says, "Stop it, Nat!" And the goblin sort of pushes a little bit at the orc, and the orc just gives this murderous stare down at the goblin, and then turns and talks to a couple of his companions. And there seems to be some serious dispute about whatever it is the dwarves are digging and what they're trying to get from it between these other two groups of goblin humans and the orcs.
Okay.
So that's what you see, Bolo.
This is a terrible time for River to be automatically failing charisma checks, I have to say. I feel like this is a primo fomenting descent sort of situation, but alas. Alackaday.
All right. Well, I will. I think I need to update the group, so I'll kind of sneak back and tell them what happened below.
River kind of jumps to her feet and is just like this tense bundle of just nervous energy, and just says, "And how long is it till nightfall now?"
It was probably a couple of. It's still a good 6 hours or so before nightfall. Although it's never super bright here in the Waste, but still, probably a good 5-6 hours, because that probably happened about maybe 2 hours later after you were there. So I would say, about 5. It's probably going to be another 4 hours, 5 hours before nightfall.
So River just says, I don't. What if they find the thing that they want before nightfall? Then they won't have any use for the dwarves anymore. They will just kill them.
You sure
Well,
about that? Because, considering that these are really ancient tunnels, parts of it might be collapsed, so they would probably still need workers to work with those eventualities.
But what if it's not a tunnel? You can see it better now. Doesn't it look like it could be something else? Like, what if it's...
Wait! Inga
You
might
remember-
know what that looks like, what that is actually. I guess Inga would go take a look herself.
Okay, so you would sneak back up.
Yes. And because Inga has a thing like dwarven something or other that lets her know shit about buildings made from stone. Where is it? Stone cunning. Whenever you make an intelligence history ability check related to the origin of stonework, you are considered proficient in the history still and add double your proficiency bonus to the check instead of your normal proficiency bonus. Okay, in that case, yeah, I get double proficiency bonus.
In that case, what? You would do what? You would...
If I would take a look at
Okay.
this thing that they're excavating. then I
So,
would-
let me have you make a stealth check when you get back up to the hill. I actually should have had Bolo do this, but I think they were too occupied doing... Actually, yeah, go ahead and make it anyway. Yeah, that's fine. It's not a difficult check. They're too occupied with the discovery. So when you get up there and you look down, you can just make out a couple of the runes on the outside of the door. Inga, it is definitely possible that this is a door that is blocking off a tunnel. It definitely looks like an older rune for sure, like an older, and also an older level like stonework that you would expect. However, this seems like not the way that dwarves would normally do it, right? Typically, dwarves for these tunnels, yes, they were a series of hidden tunnels, but they were designed to be able to come out on the surface fairly easily once they actually arrived. This feels like it's not concealed enough to be a tunnel, but also not easy enough to be a tunnel, if you understand what I mean. It's possible that it is, but judging from the way the door looks on the outside, it's more likely that it's some kind of structure or building that it's opening up into, a crypt or a mausoleum or a tomb or a, something like that. There could still be a tunnel connected to it, though. You can't tell that from here, but this doesn't look like the usual thing you would see for a tunnel.
Aside from the speculation about the tunnels, what does Inga know about any structures that might be found in this region?
There were multiple examples of tombs and mausoleums that were built by the dwarves to bury their dead since they did so much battling against orcs and goblins. You are, of course, not very far, as we said, from the Grey Mountains, so during some of the raids, orcs and hobgoblins would come down this way, and the dwarves were often fighting them in the heyday of the dwarves when they were more kind of widely spread, even in the open air, not just under the mountains and in the mines. And so there are certainly many, many tombs of families that have, and clans that have long since been, lost to history. Probably the waste is riddled with these things.
Okay.
Out of curiosity, though, and this is something for whether or not Inga knows, but do the dwarves also have a history of hiding those mausoleums?
Sometimes, depends on what they were. Yes, sometimes. Because they didn't want enemies despoiling them, so yes.
Right. So,
But also, one quick note, this may have also just been hidden by the ravages of time.
Right.
Ash covering it over as opposed to them going out of their way to try to hide it.
So the thing that River is thinking, and that she's going to say as she's pacing back and forth, wanting very badly to do a terrible thing and just, launch herself into a vast number of enemies rather than stay sitting. She says, "You remember what was it called? Not the Weathertop, the place with the big evil chain? Where was that?
With her teeth?
Oh, no.
Place with what?
This is before you
before your
arrived in the
time,
scene,
yeah.
Brad.
Oh.
It was, I'll look it up. It was
I wanted to say
in the
River
last Wilderland Adventures, not Erebor.
Yeah. It was or
Where
sorry,
we
it was-
met the dragon or what?
No, way before. Remember when that jerk who was leading us around betrayed us and we had to fight our way out of a horde of goblins and the eagles arrived to help with this and stuff, and they were guarding a like super evil chain that was attached to someone who was like being inhabited by like it was a chain attached to a corpse and
I got
the
it.
corpse
It's
was
the-
talking.
Yeah, it was the chain of Thangorodrim. This is the
And-
one that was used to enslave Smaug's father.
Right.
Um,
and they were bringing that chain to the dragon, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so-
Well, that's right. Yeah, that was the originally that had been the plan of the Gibbet King.
Right.
This is the Dwimmerhorn. That's what it was. The
Dwimmerhorn.
fortress in the Dwimmerhorn. Yeah.
Right, that
So-
fucked up place.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
So-
don't remind me.
And I mean
Well,
that place wasn't that made? Wasn't that like dwarven make? That was like
Originally, the
Our-
Dwimmerhorn was, yes.
right, exactly. So River is kind of pacing and going, remember the Dwimmerhorn. Remember what that was hiding.
Rather not. I'd rather not remember that place. But
No.
yes.
But remember what that was hiding, and remember how that was a thing. Sorry, Bolo. A few years ago, we went to a place in the Wilderland called the Dwimmerhorn, and there was a horribly evil chain that was from ages past, and the orcs and goblins wanted it for some master purpose. It turned out they wanted to enslave a dragon. River can't help but fall into a sort of storytelling mode, but she kind of stops herself and she goes, the point is, this was something that the dwarves had been hiding and guarding from falling into the wrong hands. And just if they are so interested in digging out something here that is also, you know, of ancient dwarven make, and I just can't help but think that we don't want them to get whatever is there. And if we wait longer, they might, and it might end up being much worse for us and for Domi if we wait any longer.
Does Inge have any idea what kind of people would have been buried in this in the wastes? Like, would this have been like regular warriors or like kings or like
Could be
what are we
either.
talking about?
It's
Okay.
totally dependent, but you know who would know is a dwarven scholar. And
Okay, we are going
So let's
back
just
to talk to
zip down
Moonin
there.
while this happens
yeah,
here.
it's like, you all wait here. This is like the Witcher version of this is we just fast travel to the other side,
Yeah.
right? And it's just totally fine. God damn it.
Actually, so River turns to Tawny and says, Tawny, is there any way that you can travel in your bear shape when it's just dark, or does it have to be night?
That's to be nice.
Can Inge, like from where she is / was looking, make out like get like make an educated guess about how much longer it would take these guys to get into that structure they're trying to get into?
Now that the dirt and ash has given way, revealing this area, you know better than most how fast dwarves can work when they want to on stonework, or not when they want to, when they're being forced to. Their exhaustion may sort of cut down on it, but it'll probably go.
The motivation makes up for it. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So-
it'd be close. I mean, would they? It's possible that they might not get all the way there. Would these ones push them through the night? Or at least through the early part of the night, maybe. I mean, dwarves also. The other problem is that, if dwarves were just much less resilient and had a lot of less stamina, this wouldn't be a problem. But, dwarves have this whole, we'll just keep digging forever because we're awesome and resilient and made of,
So right now it's early afternoon, right?
Yes, now it is probably about, I would say, 2 or 3 o'clock.
So Inge is under the impression that we don't have the time to spare to wait till nightfall, right?
It's pushing it now that this thing has gone through. It's not a guarantee. You might have the time, but it's going to be close.
Yeah, okay. Then, when Inge gets back, she'll say, I think our plan to ambush them at night, I don't think we have time for that.
Now, the orcs... Sorry, let's just look at the map again.
Uh-huh.
The orcs are encamped a little bit further away. right?
That's correct. They are in two separate groups. The hobgoblins are over. The orc hobgoblins are over near this tree stump, basically, and the cloaked figures, most of them are over at the tent, which is like in a circle of stones. And both of those are a little bit of a distance. They're pretty close to the digging site, but like not right on top of it. But yes, they're definitely separate from each other. They definitely do not seem to want to hang out with each other. That's for sure.
Okay. And the dwarves are closer to us than the orcs are.
Slightly, yes. Yeah.
Okay. So River is going to sort of sketch out on the ground in front of them that situation. She's going to like draw this map in the earth.
Okay.
Again, a lot of nervous energy to use up. And she's going to say, I think that we should still, I think the basic structure of our plan should still be the same. I think that trying to lead off some of the group, just cause a distraction while others release the dwarves, I think that is still what we need to do. I just don't think we can do it as safely or effectively as Tawny might have if we had been doing this at night. Incidentally, Tawny, I still really want to see the bear thing. But not now, I guess. All right.
Wild scout. Oh.
Then we'd better survive, indeed. Sorry, Inga, what were you saying?
While scouting around, did Inga find any trees, perhaps?
Other than just a couple of stumps, like I mentioned, not too much. Everything
How far
is...
was the other tree away that we passed by?
Oh, the one that with the rune? That was, I think, like an hour or two ago. It was a ways away.
Like the idea is to make like a smoke thing. To
lure away people?
Well, you've
lure
been
away at least
gathering
some
wood.
of them.
You've been gathering, you said that
Yeah, but like she didn't find much.
Didn't really
that was
find
a
much.
problem.
Scrub brush. There's like
Was
not a
it
lot
scrub
here to work with.
Right.
There's a little bit.
Like I'm not an expert, but like I think like dry wood does probably not produce as much smoke as like
wet wood, but you can wet it. I mean, I think.
I don't know how that works.
But
Like,
So I mean, ways to cause a distraction. You have arrows, though, right?
I do.
Sorry. Sorry. I'm going to just put this over here. Speaking of wind and such, I think that okay. So again, like looking down at this map, River says, "We know they don't like each other. Maybe we can create a situation where they start fighting each other if it's possible to, I don't know, actually can just, again, quick check so I can visualize this.
Sure.
How far apart are the groups? Is it possible for one group to think that another group like threw a stone at them or
Yes.
something? Yes? Okay.
Yes. They're not right next to each other, but, they could heave it from a distance.
Okay. So River is going to say, all right. Bolo, you are very good with the sling and also very good at hiding. Do you think this is a very big task, but do you think that you could make the orcs think that the men are attacking them, or just, throw a stone from one position and then vanish and go to another position and do it back and that sort of thing? Do you remember, like, I think I've heard this story of Bilbo Baggins. I think, there was a story about him and some trolls and making them fight each other. Do you know it?
I think I'm quite familiar with it, actually.
Do you think you could do something like that here? What we need is for them to be distracted with each other and for us to be able to, have as much advantage as possible in trying to just free the dwarves from what they're doing here.
Well, possibly. However, how will we free the dwarves? I mean, I could unlock their locks, but I can't do that and cause the diversion?
I think that you need to cause a diversion until they are engaged with each other, and then come back to us. Or not us here. I don't know. We have to all be closer, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yes, please do not split up
And
the party more
synchronize.
than we need to.
I recommend you go to 4 equidistant spots around.
So no, River's going to say, no, you don't have to be the one undoing their chains. We can do that. I think Inga can actually do that. Those chains are probably, not... If we have had any experience of orc-made things in the past, it's that they are not particularly well crafted. We can probably break through those. But if we do that while they are fighting each other, it will be a lot easier, I think.
And I could certainly try to throw things out that maybe even make calls or something like that, and then try to hide. Do we think that would be enough for them to think that the humans are attacking them?
I think so. I think that they from everything that you've said, they don't like each other. Orcs tend not to like each other as orcs. I think that they have even less love for men or anyone else who is ostensibly working with them. And River is going to say, she's going to like put her hands on Bolo's shoulders and look him in the eye and say, I believe you can do this. I completely believe you can do this. But it is entirely up to you, I think, whether or not you want to endanger yourself this way.
I'm willing to try if we think it's the best method forward.
And as like River kind of like just very intensely is looking at Bolo here, I think that Bolo will feel a sort of like rallying sort of, one could almost call it inspiration, except that it is not quite that, but it is the feeling that accompanies being gifted a D8 from through
I guess a familiar feeling.
Yes,
Very
exactly.
well-known emotion.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's one of the
so
appendices was the D8 feeling.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, River, just it's very, very clear from the way that River is looking at Bolo that she absolutely 100% trusts that he is capable of accomplishing this thing, and like her belief in him is unshakable and sort of how can I put this? Strengthening, nourishing, a nourishing kind of belief. Essentially, even though she herself is miserable, her capacity to believe in her companions is still unshakable. So.
Okay. So knowing what I know of the lay of the land, Arva, is there what I want to be doing is to be getting close to or in line with the humans and the orcs, such that like launch something and they could perceive it as having come from the humans.
Okay. Yeah, I think
Is
you're.
there anything near there that's sort of that I could sort of make for?
So yeah, what I would say is the closer you get, the easier the actual attack / attempt to distract will be. But the more likely that you might get noticed. So what you have to try to do is kind of balance out, getting close enough that you're not noticed, but that you can actually have a chance of hitting these things. So the real question is, the way I would address it is, I will ask you to make a stealth check. The closer that you get, the harder the stealth check is, but the easier it will be to make your attack. So basically, I'm going to give you 3 levels of this. So the farthest away is the easiest stealth check, but the hardest attack. Then you got a middle one, and then you got one that's closer, the closest possible option while still having a chance to not be noticed, which will be the easiest attack, but the hardest stealth check. So it's up to you what you want to kind of how you want to do it.
Alright.
Like,
The thing I want to remind you of too is that you do have inspiration from everyone
Yes.
having gotten it,
Yep.
and that you also the D8 is yours to use for whatever check you want, essentially. So like this is the just to remind people, because it's been a little while since I used this. This is called Warden's Gift, which is you can inspire others through stirring words, through music, or by your presence alone, which allows you to gift 1d8 to a person of your choice. So so you have that die to use either for your stealth roll or for your attack roll, so
Yes.
you can kind of manage the situation accordingly.
how many of those do you have left, by the way, Mel? Does River have?
They replenish every short rest.
Okay, gotcha.
She has
All right.
3 in total.
All right. And if I recall right, I can choose to use that after my roll, but before you tell me if it
Correct.
succeeds. Or...
Yep, that's right.
All right.
Not the now the
for
the over.
those,
Hold on one sec. The overall inspiration, that's not the case. With the advantage, disadvantage, you have to choose before you roll. But the D8, yes, you can see whether you what the number is, and then before I tell you if it's success, decide whether to use it or not. Sorry, Terry.
for those watching who are more familiar with regular 5e as opposed to this game, this is basically bardic inspiration.
Oh, great.
All right. Or is the group ready? Shall we start?
Ready to cave in some orc skulls.
All right.
Clifford
Right.
sort of, steps behind Lillimon and brings Lillimon away slightly, and
Yes.
then kind of has this determined, although very frightened look on his face.
If
Okay.
things go south, you two get out of here.
All right. I'm first stealth roll, no inspiration.
Okay.
Nice.
Woo! Okay.
So that one was easy. So are you taking the attack from here, Bolo, or are you going to try to go in a step closer?
At least one more.
Okay.
Wow.
He's just like, Bolo just vanishes from sight, just whoosh, becomes a piece of ash, like just right away.
As before, I rolled in the ash, and you can call me Greylo now.
Yeah, exactly.
I just love. I don't know if I've ever seen a natural 31. It's just so beautiful.
It's so it's such a great thing to see. Yeah, they take a pride in it. They can move quietly, absolutely quietly.
River's like, I can't see him anymore. Where is he?
No. He stealthed
got like
so well that
an
we
ash
forgot that he even
releases.
existed.
Hey, you were like, who was the guy that used to be with us? I don't know.
Wasn't there an
There
Ewok?
used to be somebody with us. I thought it was always.
Yeah, you guys all leave the waste and forget about me.
Yeah.
That's how good it was.
Wasn't there an Ewok? What?
There was an Ewok by that. No, that was low grade, not Greylo. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Right.
So now you're in that middle spot. So you could go one more spot closer, or
I'm actually going to use inspiration on this roll.
okay.
Is this the attack or the stealth?
No, this is one more stealth. I want to be closer.
All right. Bolo appears from view, but still silently moves forward. Yes. So yes. All right. You're able to get up close. That no one has paid any attention to you, and you note as you get close, Bolo, that the goblin and the hobgoblin leader seem to have now broken apart again, and the hobgoblin leader has gone back over to his camp and is kind of speaking to the rest of the orcs, the hobgoblins, who occasionally you can hear that they're like, they seem very upset as usual with whatever was just decided. And the goblin is back talking somewhat more quietly to the cloaked figures, and they have not noticed you at all. So you can now decide which one that you're going to aim for.
All right. Well, so I'm going to.
So
Oh, go ahead.
what River would have suggested before you headed off was to aim at an orc who seems already ornery and aggravated and angry.
That's easy. All of them are.
Yeah, exactly. But like the idea is to aim at the orcs, not the men, because the orcs are the more chaotic, essentially.
Yeah. Is
But it's
that?
up to him. Yeah.
I was thinking either the leader, or like the one who was talking to the goblin,
Okay.
or
Yep, you can do that.
like a brute, that looks.
Yep. No, you can do that. It's
All right.
one and the same. And he's
Okay.
actually standing with his back to you because he's talking to the other orcs at the moment.
that-
So
that actually works well. So yeah, I'm going to use my sling. I'm going to do a surprise attack,
okay.
and I'm going to yell, "I've had enough of these foul orcs!" in the most human voice I can,
Okay.
and sling.
All right. Go ahead and make your attack roll here. 25.
Wow!
So Bolo just, and so you all see, and actually those of you, Tani and Inga and River, you are watching right from the hill, like the hillock as he does this, I assume, right over the hill to see him.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
you see the stone whizzing out, and then this, I've had enough of it, type of thing that you heard. Although it sounds very Bolo tinged, but anyway. And the orc, cool, and just, oi, and he turns around.
Can you roll damage though?
Yeah. This was a real roll.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Just in case.
And the
take every advantage we
and
can.
and the I can use that D8 for damage, can't I?
You can. You
Oh.
can use it. Wait, can you? Well, it doesn't specify. It literally says I've just gifted you that D8. So
Wait a
You
minute.
should be able to.
I think you should be able to.
You probably can, but let's double
Yeah,
check.
the mechanic for like with Songs of Slaying, essentially Songs of Slaying does this but more diffused in that you can have that everyone within 30 feet gets a D4 to use for damage or for landing an attack, and it's only in that context. The Warden's Gift is not in an attack context, it's in any other context, and you can just give the D8. So
Okay.
It
I
does
don't
not
have
say damage though. The creature can roll the gift die and add the number rolled to one ability check, attack roll, or saving throw it attempts.
Oh,
And
okay.
not.
So
So
not
not that.
damage.
All right, so I'll save it. And
It's a significant chunk of damage there, I think.
That's
Hey.
23? Is that what I'm looking
Yeah.
at?
Yeah.
Good God. Okay, so it like not only hits, but just like blood pours out. Oi! And he turns around. Whoa! And the orcs all spring up from the camp. Like all 5 of them leap to their feet and start. Now, I need you. This is important. Let me see.
That's with a capital P-O-R. Important.
Important. The anticipation. I am going to ask you to make a deception check for me, Bolo. We're going to see how well this actually worked.
But you can use a D8 on that.
That's
one,
true.
pretty
Yes,
much.
you can. All right.
and I
So,
will use it.
so 23. All right. Wow. This is an extremely impressive couple of minutes for Bolo. just
Ah.
now. Oh my God.
Wait,
All right.
did you see? Yeah. Wow!
Wow.
Holy shit!
Damn. All right, so yeah, so like they get us, they all spring up and they immediately start pointing at the camp, and the one in the front is like, "You think you're gonna? You're smart, are you? You're gonna attack?" And the goblin is like, "What are you talking about? I'll say whatever." And they're sort of this mix of like they're so angry that it's switching from like orcish into common, like back and forth. So it's like, "Well, I'll see with this snag of frickus cavestel because I'll pirate it." And so the orcs all draw swords and like start waving them. The camp sort of looks at them. Now, while this is happening, River and Inga, I want you please to make perception checks for me, please. Those two specifically.
Okay.
Roll high.
Oh god, that is 9.
Okay, good to know.
9? No, 10. Sorry, a 10.
That's a 14 because I have a disadvantage.
River,
does,
when
does Stone get one as well?
no, this is not related to that. So River, when you look down there, you think that a couple of the cloaked figures who are now also standing and kind of looking over at the orcs, that the cloaked figures, a couple of them actually look sort of familiar. You can't tell exactly why, but you're just able to see for the first time inside the hood. And it reminds you of someone. A couple of them remind you of someone, but you don't know what yet. Just that they look sort of familiar to you. In any case,
Ash.
yeah, exactly.
Don't you
It's
dare!
Ash who secretly.
Oh my god! Oh!
Damn it! No.
Jen!
So,
Awful!
so they.
I took psychic damage from that.
Yeah,
How
you,
dare
you-
you?
that was 20 heart damage. Is what you
Oh
took
my
right there.
god!
Like a Mal, not River gains a shadow
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, exactly.
How could you? Oh my god!
I have this image
Jesus.
later on that there's going to be an opportunity to be like, oh, you could have one of your audiobooks could be narrated by Trent Sparks, and she's like, no, I want it, no, screw him. I want it.
But he screwed himself out of it.
It's like, this was his fault. Like, what are you talking about? Anyway, no, Ash is not the one that you would recognize her. This is not that, but it is someone that you're pretty sure you might have seen before, but you can't quite make it out. But there's certain familiarity to it. In any case, they all start, like, the dwarves for a moment stop kind of and sort of wearily look up in the direction of the orcs, and they are yelling and shouting and screaming at the humans, who are all doing this, like, you know, like, what? What is this? You know, like, what? That type of thing. And they start moving towards each other. They have not launched into combat yet because the goblin in front seems to be, like, yammering at both his men and the orcs to kind of like, rah, relax, calm down, rah. And you hear again, it's like half goblin, half calm down, relax. But there's a great deal of tension, and they are paying zero attention to anything other than each other at the moment. It is very high, this tension.
Oh, sorry, Tran, you wanted to say more?
I should have mentioned this sooner, but do we still have any of those orcish arrows?
You might.
Inga still has the shale arrows that she made like 2 years ago, IRL time.
But was it using the orcish shafts though? Because I see what Trent's getting at.
I see. Let's check my inventory. I'm
picking up what he's putting down.
I want to point out, by the way, to those of you in chat watching who are interested in the work of Tolkien, one of the things I talked about my students, one of the major differences between good and evil from the point of view of Tolkien is that good has friends, whereas evil has minions or servants or allies of temporary convenience, but there are no friendships among creatures of evil. And so part of what this is using the orcs' general suspicion and evil creatures in general against each other. Just wanted to point that out. Exactly, they have minions, not friends.
And I would also note, Arv, that you doing.
I have it. I have one black arrow from the swamp.
Yeah,
that's what I have written down. That is an orc arrow.
Like what? What are you gonna do?
Yep.
What? Come on.
That's right.
You know?
No, it's exactly what it was. 100%. It's very much they were just like, you got a problem? You want to come to this? I'll come to it. Yeah, it's very much that sort of thing.
I have an arrow, a single orc arrow.
Oh, you have a single orc
Amazing.
arrow, even better.
Incredible.
So, Brad, what you may have missed, I
Like,
don't know
I
if you
assume
heard that.
that is one. Like, I just wrote down black arrow
Heard
from
bits
the
and pieces.
swamp.
You
Like,
heard
that
bits and
was when we were starting the whole thing where we, like the silver needle thing, and we were like lured out of Dale
Right.
into the swamp, and then we were attacked. Those were orcs, right? I don't remember.
Those were orcs, yes. So
that is an orc arrow.
Yeah, so you have one orc arrow. I love it. What are you going to
Yes.
do with this one orc arrow?
Take down Smog. No, wait.
You just shoot it up in the air, wait for a dragon to fly underneath it, right?
Right, exactly.
Shoot a man with it, obviously.
Please tell me that the way we are positioned, like basically the orcs are standing with their backs to us.
He did say the orcs were closer to us.
That's right.
Good.
I did say that. Now, they are
fantastic.
not technically, they're sort of standing to the side, not where their backs to you, but their side to you, because they're not looking at you, Inga. They're looking at the humans across the way and the goblin.
Can I get, like, presumably quickly enough into a position where
I think you can get a shot up. This is such a cool
good.
idea. I'm happy to let you get a shot off
Yes,
on one of
okay,
yours.
and that is what I use my inspiration for. Thank you very much.
I also want to just kind of say that I'm imagining, and correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone had something different in their head, that as Bolo was advancing, like that we were kind of following to get into position to take advantage of.
Well, I did
Not
position you over the hill because otherwise I would have had you do additional stealth checks. Now you'll be able to close the gap quickly, but I didn't, because otherwise that would have required stealth checks from everybody, and I assumed
No,
you
that's
wanted
fair.
Mr. Wisp of the Wind Bolo there, Ghost Took to
No,
do
this
his
is
job.
what I mean is that like we're watching the situation so that as soon as tension, tension goes
Sure.
away from us, we are moving.
Yes,
to take
yes, I would
advantage of
agree with that. But that's assuming that you're doing that while Ingo sort of I assume, like, takes a stance on the hill, and while Tawny and River are making their way down with Stone, that Inga's just like sighting along the length of the shaft, right? I'm guessing.
Yes.
Is that what
She's like doing the Merida thing where like time slows down and she like does the
right,
breathing out thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God,
well.
dice!
And then
Please don't tell me.
Don't roll. Hang on.
What?
Right. I mean, as we're discussing this thing, and like Tanya's like, "Wait, you still have that arrow." He mentioned he takes just a moment to remind Inga of something from their past or the dwarvish past, and using my ability called Shadows of the Past, you find deeper meaning in the long history of Middle Earth. If you remind another player or hero of a relevant tale from the history of their people, then that character gains 1 scholarly inspiration die, a d6.
you now have.
I love it.
Is
I'm
that
very happy
for
for
the
all of
attack
this.
roll or for the damage
See,
roll or either?
your opening thing doesn't open manacles, but this is cool. All of this is
cool.
good. Like this is all.
Can I just
100
say, but the thing that Trent that is Tony reminding Inga of the time she got that one enormous, incredible shot off at
in the dark on the
in
goblin.
the dark on the walls of the what is it the Western Hall?
Right.
Yep. While Robar
Before
missed
she
like
blew
3
the horn,
shots,
yeah.
and she's just
Yeah.
And we
I
got
had like
so
Inga just sniped that guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
and
Like,
we got
fell
so
down the
pissed
wall.
off
Yeah,
that they were like, "How did they get in here? I
Yep.
thought you had guards ready."
Yep.
Exactly.
That's slick. Good
100%.
stuff.
Oh,
River
that
has written a
is-
song about that shot. I think.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Okay. So we send a prayer to RNGesus.
I've never heard that before.
Oh, you have it?
What?
Yeah. RNGesus is a big Twitch
That's
thing.
incredible. Okay.
Oh.
Inshallah.
Oh
You
God, I'm
suspect him
terrified.
outlives for
I'm
phrases like
terrified to
scholarly
click.
inspiration.
Okay,
Yes, flying enemy.
But like Tren, does that work like bardic inspiration? Or how does it work?
Let me double check the rest of the thing, which you may use to add to any roll.
Do I do that after or before I roll?
Once you have used this feature, you cannot use it again until you've taken a long rest. It doesn't specify.
My guess is that it's the same thing where you can add it after you see the
There.
result, but before. Actually, let me see. They may use to add to any roll. Okay, so then I would say you do have to add that up front then. So you got to add that here. But I mean,
Okay,
you
then I
probably
will
want
add
to, right?
that. Yeah,
right.
because like this is not a roll I want to fail. Okay.
Okay, so you're doing this.
So I
let's be
use my
clear, at
inspiration.
advantage, right?
At advantage.
And you're not miserable.
Wait, no, I'm shooting at a human, not at an orc. Okay, never mind. So I don't get advantage anyway.
Yeah, which-
You're shooting at something.
Yeah, what are you shooting at specifically?
At one of the humans, because it is an orc arrow, so that it looks like the orc's shot.
Okay,
At
gotcha.
yes.
Cool.
Although I will say, it's not to complicate matters, but if the person who is preventing the all-out fighting from happening is the little goblin guy, and the orcs are also hating the little goblin guy, I
Then
think
I
that
should go the goblin guy.
that is also well. I don't know. I'm going to see. What
Well, the
our-
only thing I wanted to say is that you remember the goblins trying to prevent the humans from attacking the orcs. If you get the humans convinced the orcs are attacking
Okay.
them.
Sorry, that's the situation I was missing. So yeah. So shoot a human.
I
Shoot a
do
human.
have virtue old hatred though, which gives me advantage on. Oh, that's just melee. Okay, never mind. That doesn't play anyway. Okay. In that case, yeah, I'm using my inspiration and
Alright.
the thing that Trent just did.
D6. Yep.
The D6. Okay. I don't want to look.
Hey, all right.
Okay. So let's.
Okay.
19.
But plus the D6.
Yeah,
Mhm.
let's see the d6. Wow. Oh my God, the dice today. Listen, you may have had some bad rolls and a couple bad sessions. Your dice have all been
Yeah.
on point today. Like,
Rama
oh my
dice!
goodness.
Sometimes.
So, go ahead and roll.
Well, I have-
Go ahead and roll your damage.
Hey, when it's a natural maximum on a dice that is supporting it, does that like by
No.
transitive properties become a natural 20?
But if
Right.
she crit on a 19 and a 20, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that
That's
would be
you
awesome.
do
No.
know.
No,
you
not
do.
on a
no,
ranged
not
attack.
with the short bow. Just
Oh, sorry,
with my
sorry.
axe.
You're right. Okay.
Not
yeah.
that powerful yet. Okay, so we're looking at 6, right?
Mhm.
All right, let me just make a quick note about that. Right.
Unless
so
that orc arrow gets like has some special
Oh yeah,
properties,
is
which I
it
doubt.
poisoned? Is it a poisoned orc
it
arrow?
is not. It is not actually poisoned,
Oh.
but
Like also like in game time, it would have been years, so like
Yeah.
probably
Yeah, I was
poison
gonna
would
say,
have
like-
worn off.
but it goes and lands in the sort of left shoulder.
Oh yeah,
sort
and
of
she drops prone right after shooting it. Of
and
course, so, like,
stumbles
she
back,
does-
right? And I'm not even going to have you make a deception check on this because they're already like really angry at each other, and they're just, and then like the human like looks down at the arrow, and then like pulls out the arrow and or like
Oh, idiot.
like sort of looks at the arrow
Right.
and like stares at it, and like yeah, I guess actually that's true. He doesn't pull it out, but
Really
he does
just
look
snap
down
Break
at
it
it
off. Yeah.
and kind of snaps off the shaft, right? And he looks at it and sort of holds it up, and then a bunch of the humans, foul maggot stored in and the goblin's like, looking back and forth. And then you hear the goblin say, but they don't even have bows. And then both sides like just start running at each other. So they start running at each other, and there is just this absolute chaos. Now the dwarves at this point they've all been sort of looking up wearily, and it is actually as you drop prone, Inga, you get the sight of the face of the old dwarf with white hair, kind of looks sort of curiously in your direction, and then kind of eyes sort of widen a little bit as he sees you. And chaos is joined, and as the party runs in, I believe Bolo at that point heading to try to unlock the dwarves, if I'm not mistaken, I think. Whereas the rest of the party is going to head in, and I do want to double check actually. Bolo's going to try to unlock the manacles. Tawny, Inga, and the river, are you then moving to engage as Bolo does that, or what are you doing?
Bonnie sent for the dwarves as well. He's going to give them
Honey cakes.
twice base honey cakes and help Bolo with the lock.
Okay.
Yeah, and like Inga would have given one of them like her spare axe beforehand to
And River would
to
have
like
given
hand
her
to
belt
one of the
dagger.
dwarves.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
So
River
this
what?
is-
I'm sorry.
River would have given her belt dagger to pass on to
Right.
one of the dwarves.
But they still have, I mean, they at the moment, they already have their like pickaxes in their hands. Like, so.
Yeah, but the axe is better than a pickaxe, right? For fighting, I would assume.
I
Maybe.
Fighting, yes.
Unless
but
they're
yes.
wearing like steel plate armor, then
No, that's true.
dealing with the chains, the pickaxes would be
Here's
fine
the
once
thing,
they
I
know
think-
they can get out.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that our victory condition here, like I think that if we can sneak them away before anyone notices and then try to be booking it away, then that will probably be better.
Inga would want to kill some orcs. Just saying.
That
mean,
and the fact that you probably well, you'll see. Anyway, so Tawny
Yes.
and Bolo are going to
Don't they
head
have
towards.
horses?
Tawny and Bolo are heading towards the dwarves. Inga and the river, you are headed where?
Uh,
And Stone.
so, yeah, so I mean, I figure that we're waiting to engage. Well, I don't like.
Yeah.
My thought was that we were gonna try and like just make sure we get the dwarves free. When they're free, if we have to fight, then we're fighting all.
Okay,
together.
so all four of you then are basically moving towards the dwarves, is what I
Yeah.
understand. Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that works.
Or all five. So all of you gather up to the dwarves, and the dwarves sort of look at you wearily as you arrive. And meanwhile, there's just clang, clang, smash. You know, they're all. The oldest dwarf, when he sees you, Inga says, "That's a brave thing you've did, but they're not gonna let us go. Eventually and then you hear this yammering, and you can see that the humans, the goblin actually, is now pointing down and screaming and yelling and is pointing directly at all of you as you're clearing this out. But of course, his voice is partially heard. So the dwarf says, "I won't be much use to you, but my friends here will be. If you can get out of this, then perhaps we can work together. Can you, lads?" And the dwarves, as their last chain, sting, is broken, Inga, by your axe. They turned out to be Bolo. You released a couple of them. You didn't even really have to make much of a check. These chains are pretty crappy quality, to be perfectly honest, and the locks were. As the last chain is broken, the three dwarves sort of wearily pick them up, and they pull their pickaxes into position, and they say, "It's about time they see what it's like when we were digging their graves all along." And they kind of raise their pickaxes.
Yes.
The orcs and the humans look down, catch sight of you, and that is where we are going to bring our session to a
And Tony's like,
close.
Corpus Christi, Corpus Christi.
It's
Corpus
like, yeah. Take this.
Woo!
Good stuff,
Oh my
everybody.
God.
This is going to be a hell of a
Nice.
fight, but that is about as good as it gets in terms of setting up and like changing the odds. Good God.
Oh my god.
I think like
Oh
every
my
one of
God.
those rolls was like epic.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, and it's gonna get better because like now that Inga is like a melee, she gets advantage on all attack rolls against these fuckers. Not counting the humans, but yes.
That's true,
Finally,
and-
I get to use that.
and I keep being like, wait, I was like, and then I'm like, oh wait, you're not miserable. You're just filled with shadow, but you're not
Yeah,
miserable. It's
I'm
fine.
just depressed.
Yeah, you're just depressed. So the only ones who are miserable right now actually are
River and
Stone, because Bolo is still above ground.
Yeah, and River and Stone are usually the bruisers in a battle and stuff, but if we're getting disadvantaged specifically on attack rolls, then that is pretty awful.
Yeah.
Wait, was it only on attack rolls or was it on all things?
It is on attack rolls and
And ability checks, isn't it?
I think so.
Because I have been
One
assuming
second.
it was on
That's
ability
a
checks.
well, you fail charisma checks automatically. And let's see. It is yes, disadvantage on attack rolls. and that's it. And then automatically fails charisma ability checks.
Wait, so I don't have disadvantage on ability checks?
No, just charisma ability checks you fail, but other ability checks, no, you do not have disadvantage on those.
Oh, well, I have been assuming that I did this whole time. So
now, one thing though I do want to note, and this is something we'll talk about more next session, but when a player hero who is miserable, a la the river and or stone, rolls equal or less than the difference between their shadow point total and their wisdom while making an ability check, attack roll, or a saving throw, they experience a bout of madness. So your shadow point total right now, River, is 3, and your wisdom is what? It's probably like
16.
Okay. So I mean, this is not likely to come up much, but basically if so you'd need to, let me see. So rolls equal than or less the difference between them making an ability check.
Wait, so
yeah, so pretty much the chances
Shadow
are not very
minus
good. So
wisdom,
like
isn't
so
it?
basically what this is if you rolled a oh actually no. If you
no,
rolled
shadow minus wisdom. Isn't
yeah,
it?
actually no, because the way they describe it is a player hero with wisdom 10 and 15 shadow points. So there's a
Right.
5.
So if you roll less than a 5, you experience a bout of madness.
Yeah, but actually, you know what? Never mind, because that has to do with that's if shadow points are more than wisdom. So never mind, that doesn't apply. So forget it. You're fine.
I remember
You're
you
fine.
bringing up this trait specifically in regard to when you are miserable because your shadow points have exceeded your wisdom.
Yeah.
score.
So that's
is
what
the
this is tied
other-
into. It would be a
right.
bout of madness, but you don't have to worry about that. It's fine.
Right.
So
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I'm hoping I never have to roll a -10.
yes,
but,
no,
like,
this is fine. Don't worry about
that
that.
would be very bad.
So, but this was good stuff, folks. I really enjoyed watching you folks figure out how to sort of coordinate this attack against a outnumbered. The way it describes it actually in the adventure is outnumbered but not outwitted, and I think that was exactly what everyone was thinking about. And I mean, and honestly, you know, Bolo, I think, was the MVP there for a lot of that, but but leading up to it, a lot of the other characters also had all of their own moments. Like, I love the idea that Tani whispers to Inga this thing about, like, just so you know, remember the time when the blah, and the fact that and remembering the orc arrow too, the fact that exists in the first place was such a great idea. When you said that, I'm like, oh yeah,
that from my,
that's nice, yeah.
From
Yes,
my
the orc arrow
inventory.
was removed, but I think it was well worth it to save it for this. Anyone who believes, like, you know, our role players hoard too much stuff, this is why. You never know when you're going to need the orc shaft arrow thing. Anyway.
Like, this is like one of those things that you like put into your inventory and then never think about it again. You also never
Until you
check,
need it, and you're like,
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, it was very good stuff. And I will, as always, start with Mal. Let me switch back over to my cams overlay. Mal, good stuff today. I really liked the little rune addition to the tree. I like that act of defiance. I think that really fit, and you could see that it actually did have a little bit of an effect almost mechanically and otherwise sort of flowing into this. I like that idea, and the fact that this I mean, the place sucks, right? Like, it just sucks. It's just bad. And so not wanting to be there any longer than necessary becomes a big part of it. I also liked both your and Inga's reaction to, wait, you can turn into a bear? Because that was so much of a reflection of what in real life you had also said at one point about, like, wait, you could turn into a bear? So it was really fun to watch that happen. And now you got a big combat on your hands, but you have evened up the odds quite a bit. How did you feel about today? Where will the lovely folks find you next?
Oh man, I love today. I was low-key dreading today because I could tell we were gonna eventually have to have a battle situation, and usually I so look forward to battle situations as a moment where, you know, me, the player, get to experience a great deal of catharsis by my, you know, much more athletic and powerful than I am character getting to mow down some, like, embodiments of evil. It's really good, especially when one feels helpless about the state of the world and stuff. So any going into battle in a way where you're constrained or diminished in some way really chips away at that cathartic fantasy. So I was kind of like, oh god, this is gonna be so stressful and awful, and I'm just and getting the opportunity to turn that around felt so good, specifically because, like, you know, River being miserable with this capital M is such like such a weight on her character. Like she is a charisma forward bard-like character.
Yep.
To have that kind of character automatically fail charisma checks and just like not have access to that side of her personality basically
Yep.
is really hard. And the idea that like, you know, she leaping into battle is a thing that she does joyfully, and not being able to have that is really hard. But getting to rally instead behind another aspect of her personality, which is like hyping up her friends, coordinating her friends, and getting her friends to be able to do the thing, felt so good on literally 2 levels. And I'm sorry I'm going to belabor this, but like when I said that the way that I was thinking of this quality as like, you know, pandemic impairment and stuff, I have very personally experienced like a really significant like just cognitive diminishment, and that is very hard for me, and that has made a lot of things that used to be easy for me very, very difficult.
Sure.
And the only thing that has really helped with that is that recognizing that problem and enlisting the help of my loved ones with stuff that I would not normally have asked for help with before is the only way through that. And getting to have River basically be able to do that and say like, okay, you know, usually I would want us to go in fighting, but we can't do that. So here's what we can do. Can we do this? Bolo, can you do this? And specifically trusting that Bolo can do this.
And Bolo rewarded your trust. See?
Yeah. and what I love too, I keep coming back to the mechanics of this game because I feel they're just so elegant and so beautiful. The fact that as a bard, like she doesn't have her charisma, but what she does have as a warden is the warden's gift dice, and that there's no impairment on that. So that she can still like give this thing that is a part of her to her friends and have them kind of be able to do this felt really fucking great. Like just absolutely phenomenal. And I love that it worked out, and I love that Tawny was able to do that for Inga as well. And it just, this is how it's supposed to work. You turn to your friends and your friends help you. It is so good. So anyway,
especially in the wake, by the way, of that that epic arrival journey arrival roll, because finally you had arrived at the area of your journey and it was successful, you know, and that made a difference because it took away some shadow points and like, you know,
Oh yeah.
Yep.
It is really, really, it just feels like, you know, as hard a trudge as the waste is, it does set up these moments to feel much more triumphant, and it just feels really, really good. And, you know, we're going to have a big combat next time. That's fine. We'll be in a new month with new inspiration.
That's true.
Also, River hasn't used hers yet, actually. The inspiration that she...
Yeah, and these inspirations do carry over. So I think we have inspirations for Tawny, for River, Bolo. I think you used yours, and Inga used yours, obviously. So, so Tawny and River, you still have your 2, and those will carry over because they're not, you know, they're not channel inspirations.
Yeah. Anyway, I loved it. Where people can see me next, here probably, because I am just trying to not be on the internet so much otherwise, and I've just had a bunch of appearances and stuff. So yeah, I think that's basically it. But you can always find me at my website and newsletter. Go to amalalmahtav.com, and that's basically that.
That's good stuff. Thank you, Mal. Good work today. Also, good work. Very good work from Terry.
Yes.
You know, the opposite of that. yes, I was.
The dice were
that epic shot from the top of the hillock was great. You know, for me as a lore master, what I love to see in these moments is I love, you know, all the authors in this call will appreciate this when I say this. The visual, right? The moment of just like, this is what it looks like when that happens, and how badass it is to think of the idea that Bolo does this, followed by them arguing, followed by Inga just dropping the arrow. Like I'm even imagining the camera sighted along the shaft as it. Oh man, I love
like
all
straight up ripping off Brave here with the visuals, like when she shoots that one arrow through the other arrow, when she does the Robin Hood thing.
Yeah. No, exactly.
But,
That's totally no. But Inga had a real, I think, opportunity to do that, and I think it also worked out narratively that Inga was the one who saw, along with Bolo, that these were dwarves, that one of them might actually be the dwarf that they were looking for, and that they had sort of tracked them down. All of that, I think, you know, just it worked very, very well, and obviously that shot was a hell of a shot. And it's going to be interesting to see how the combat works now that you've got them angry at each other and you've inflicted some damage and pissed them off, they still outnumber you, but now you have a chance. Now the odds are more even than they were before. And remembering things, even like the network of tunnels thing, even if that turns out not to have been correct, I think we had a lot of those callbacks to the last time you were in the waste, which is the way it should be, right? It's, you don't recognize this part of the waste because the waste is the waste, but certainly you would remember having heard about this from another dwarven scholar, Munin. So yeah, it was all good stuff. How did you feel about today? Where would the lovely folks find you next?
Oh, this was incredible. Also, about the whole rune thing, which I wanted to mention earlier, but that would have been like a whole other tangent. But like that really reminded me of like this whole thing about how all across the Mediterranean you can find Viking rune graffiti, basically, and it's all like stuff like there's this very famous one in the Hagia Sophia. Where it's like basically translates to Halfdan carved these runes, which is basically Halfdan was here. That's just what I
awesome.
was thinking of. Yeah. And like you can like find all sorts of stuff. Like I think there's this one statue in, I want to say Greece. Don't quote me on that. Where like some king or whatever ruler was like, "Hey, please do not vandalize the statue." And so of course.
Naturally, it was all vandalized, yeah.
So, of course, they vandalized the shit out of it. It's like completely covered in like random rune scribbles now, which is just one of my favorite history facts, honestly. So yeah, that is, yes. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the combat next time. So yes, getting to kill some orcs is one of Inge's favorite things to do in the world.
And before that, we will see you here next Tuesday.
Yes.
For
yes,
Game
yes,
Books.
Yes, finally. Praying that this time my setup doesn't break right beforehand.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Jinx it. So yeah, that's me. You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at TariToons, and every other Tuesday here for either this or Gamebook illustration streams. Yes.
Good stuff. Thank you, Terry. Always a pleasure. Good work today. Brad, like I said, Bolo was honestly like the MVP on multiple levels. Bolo's ability to scout here, first of all, it wasn't certain initially because that was a tough DC that you had to try to match. That you were that number that you were trying to reach was pretty rough. And so figuring out what to do, Tani's ability to keep you from exhaustion because of the honey cakes definitely helps a lot here. But also your ability with Bolo to be able to then scout and gather information that was necessary and do the things that Bolo would probably be best at, including stuff like being able to wander up to a camp. I love the idea of those 3 consecutive checks. And you were pretty confident about that. You were just like, nope, I want to get as close as I possibly can. Like the stealth will take care of itself, but I got to get there. And so sure enough, you cleared all the checks, you got up close enough. And then that was about as good a series of rolls in a row that you could possibly get in terms of doing exactly what you all wanted, which was to get them fighting each other and then figure out a way to get them clear. So there was a lot of Bolo as scout in this. And as far as Bolo as treasure hunter, I mean, we'll see what happens if you've survived this combat, but I mean, this may be a place to open up that has stuff in it, maybe. We'll see. How'd you feel about today, World of Love?
There are things buried
That's
deep below. Yeah, it was good. It was nice to get a bunch of good rolls in a row after the last few sessions have not been great. So it was good to see the dice come around a little bit.
Yes. Thanks, Dice.
But I continue to be impressed by the game system. Like I didn't, or I mentioned last time about the journey, and how different things are encapsulated, into roles and stuff. I didn't even think about like an end of journey type thing, and that would have a mental effect on people when you come to the end, either through some envisioned success, we've made it, or like we didn't get here fast enough or do enough, and so it could have a mental effect on the group. It's really good. It's very good at encapsulating these macro level things in a roll or two, that kind of thing. So that was good, and I liked I especially liked the personal moments, with Bolo in the river and the arrow and all these kinds of things. I was a little disappointed we didn't get to see bear form, but
Yes,
that's still
I
waiting
know.
for us. That will come. And when it comes, it's going to be awesome. So we'll wait for that.
At least now we know about it. I still
Yes.
feel like they're like when they're out of the waste. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
They're just gonna be like, so you could have just
About that-
scouted 3 days worth of journey before we did it, and you didn't do that.
I do want to point out, though, that just because he has a spirit bear doesn't mean that he's going to be able to track any better than anybody else can. I mean, you know, he might have just wandered through the waste aimlessly.
Also,
you know, so
he may not be ready to share that with us just yet.
right, yeah, like exactly.
saying-
You know,
There's, like,
this
some
is
questions.
Brad. It has been a miraculous. I've been able to hold him off as long as I have with Bear. Can he be Bear? Bear now. Bear. When he's a bear.
Bear.
But it was the way.
So yeah, I'm lying low. My head is my shoulders to the grindstone. So I won't be doing much until I come back here. So I'll have more news in the coming sessions about new book releases and such. But for now, I'll see people in a couple weeks.
Good stuff. Thank you, Brad. Good stuff as always. And yeah, Trent, very good stuff again with on several levels. We talked about the Scholar Die. It was a very good call. The Orc Arrow was a really good call. I did love the idea. I should mention to the party just quickly that you got there pretty much just in time. And if you had arrived later, other things that I won't get into might have had an effect. And I bring that up to say that when Tren was also thinking about, when Tani was thinking about like how to set up what was going to happen next in terms of, you know, tracking and who was going where and at what times. The bear thing might have been an option had you arrived a little earlier. It is possible that if Bolo had been successful on an earlier check to refine those tracks, you could have gotten here earlier, and then you could have tried your at night thing. But there were multiple ways to cut that apple, as they say. There were multiple ways to do it, and one of the ways that you chose, the bear one, would have been Q2. You could have decided to just try it and see, but it was the case that the dwarves were in a bad way, and so you had to kind of make that decision. So the bear thing still awaits, but you were able to use it regardless. And of course, the kind of honey cake, distribution network there was pretty crazy. Actually, how many honey cakes can you make like at a time? Trent, have you built these up? Has Tani built these up over time?
There is no. It doesn't specify a limit.
Okay, all right. So
I usually limit it to 10 because I can easily imagine, a muffin tin with 10.
You could fit that in a Tupperware, right? Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
But anyway, so so the honey cakes thing. So Tani had a multivaried effect today, I think, on party work, and now, of course, we got some combat coming up and some healing that will be needed. How did you feel about today? Where will the lovely folks find you next?
I thought today was horrible. It was just awful.
That's-
Everything about today was just.
Yeah.
No, it was great. Again, and we say this almost every time we play and we're doing our wrap-ups, the dice follow the narrative
Telling you,
in
yeah.
such a beautiful fashion that it just works so. I mean, I think almost every inspirational die we rolled today was maximum.
Yeah, no, it was, the inspirations were completely on point. Dice were off the chain good,
Just
which means, of
love
course,
it.
that combat is going to be miss.
Oh, it's gonna be horrible.
miss.
Tani's just going to take the dodge action every round. That's all it's going to be.
I'm going to be like, they crit you and they crit you. You're like, what? How is that possible?
No, they don't. I'm immune to crits.
Oh,
They
that's
can't
true.
do
That's
that.
true.
So, but I thought it went really, really well. Like everybody else said, I'm really glad I thought of that arrow, because I was
such
like,
a good thing.
it was like, how could we? The only other thing that I could have played into was when we figured out that Bola was going to sneak over and do the attack and make the orcs think that the humans were attacking them. Since one of the things that Tani has is webs of deceit is one of his abilities, and his ability to use like tricks of language and whatnot to manipulate people. And I was like, if I could sneak over behind the orc tent and just like with Gandalf and the trolls, be like, you're a booby, kind of thing, and just make them hate each other. And I was like, no, I can't stealth. No, let's not do that. That would just be awful.
You just like tell Bolo what to say. You're like, all right, Bolo, go over there and say this. And Bolo's just like, you're a booby. No, deeper. You're a booby.
Exactly. It was just lovely. I was thrilled to get to play this thing, and I love this group so much. As for where people will see me next, it'll be here, as usual. kind of thing. I have until probably the day after tomorrow to finish the next short story I'm narrating for Pseudopod. But then that won't be up until like probably later in October, I think. And then more BattleTech books. The one thing I did want to mention, because this happened while we were playing, I know I've mentioned the Delver's Guide to Beast World Kickstarter, which
yes.
I believe now has like 50 hours, maybe less. Let's see, what are they? 44 hours to go. And they have just unlocked the Epic Mounts thing. That stretch goal
cool.
unlocked while we were playing. Yeah, they have 44 hours to go. And it's like you're having like a spider you can ride around on, or whatever. It's some amazing stuff, and they're doing a bang up job, because they wanted 30,000. They're more than 10 times that now, and it's just delightful. It's going to be great. And this episode was brought to you by Dr. Tishner. No, it wasn't. But if you want to sponsor us, Dr. Tishner, this stuff is a great mouthwash. But remember that it's concentrated and you have to dilute it 5-1, because if you pour this stuff just into the cup and right into your mouth like I did the first time, it just flames.
Yeah, your mouth will be washed through the burning fire, the cleansing fire of.
I can feel the enamel dissolving off my teeth. This stuff is horrible. Yeah.
Oh man, good stuff, Tren, and good stuff from all the players today. Really enjoyed the session today. I'm excited for combat next month. By the way, chat, unofficially, I'll post this officially in a little bit, but unofficially, Terry and I will be here next Tuesday for the Gamebook illustration, and then AIME will return on the 12th and 19th, respectively. So if you want to see the combat and what happens after, but what of Domi, and all that, you will have to be here for those. So, chat, can we get some love for our players? Good work out of chat today, too, by the way, with their contributions as always. And thank you, players. Amazing work. Thank you to Trendane Sparks, to Brad Bollier, to Terry Tunes, and to Amal Almatar. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you folks soon.
Bye.
Bye for now. Alrighty. Whoops. Sorry. I just realized I hadn't put the other thing up there. Wait a moment. Good stuff today, everybody. Really, really enjoyed this. And it's not over yet, because now we have got another session coming up in just about 15 minutes, which will be over on GOG. So I hope you enjoyed this. And yeah, I love this is such a cool system. The journey system is so neat. The shadow, the corruption, the aspect of journeying being difficult, just really puts you in a good mood. And Professor Tolkien, I continue to say this, and I am just, it is inspiring to be able to teach and read and play within this extraordinary world with these extraordinary characters. Like, just what an incredible achievement that Professor Tolkien was able to have in creating this incredible universe. It's great stuff. Anyway, that is going to do it for me for today on the channel, but I'm not done, because as I say, at 4 p.m. Eastern, I will be over on GOG Com's Twitch channel for D&D with GOG Ghosts of Saltmarsh, which is going to be a lot fun. Oh, I'm glad, Garlic. It's going to be a lot fun, and I am excited. We have got more D&D Tuesdays coming up, as Arudinel said. So if you like what you saw and heard tonight, let me ask you all, please, to follow the channel here. Please check out my YouTube at !ArvTube, Discord at !ArvCord, Twitter with !ArvTweets, and the website is arvanelleron.com. On the financial side, !ArvShop is the merchandise area, !ArvTreon is that Patreon right there, which really is the financial backbone of the channel. It's what allows me to do that and actually have light when it is dark. Light. Dark. That was thanks to the Patreon support. Plus, you get cool stuff for yourself, including epic poems written about you and character backgrounds written for you, and a copy of one of my band's albums and a bunch of stuff like that, as well as channel goals that we move towards. So that's !ArvTreon. And of course, you can subscribe to the channel as well, which gives you those awesome custom sub badges and emotes. I love to see all those new sub badges which Shadowed Mage made that have rolled out there. So I'm very excited about those. So So please consider supporting us there. You can also get inspirations to help the players. Then, of course, we have the publishing stuff. Exclamation Point Icarus, my award-winning graphic novel from the amazing Athos Arts. By the way, I saw on Garlic Tofu's Twitter feed the new banner that is going to be brought to Origins, which has multiple covers that they basically did, including the Icarus cover by Acela Fabio, and it looks awesome. I'm very excited for the future of that series, so please check that out with Exclamation Point Icarus. Exclamation Point Library is Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. That is my 5e adventure and source book, which all of the people now are getting them, the physical copies, and everyone is raving about how good the production quality is because Alligator Alley did an amazing job, so I'm super excited about that. That's Exclamation Point Library. If you would like to find a source book and an adventure written by yours truly, source book contributed to by many people in the industry who are well known, descriptions of various books to be used in a library, and the adventure that I ran for the Gen Con Writers Symposium over 3 years, that library adventure is in that book as well. And both the Alligator Alley and Athos Arts will be part of the Kickstarter that I'm running for my Greyshade universe, Exclamation Point Greyshade KS. More details about that coming soon. And as always, Exclamation Point BLM, Black Lives Matter, very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives, and Exclamation Point Help Now, which is the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Very important to reach out to others when you need help and to reach out to others when they need help as well. Now, that is going to do it for me, as I say, but I'm going to be over at GOG at 4 p.m. We will not have a stream tomorrow. Community D&D has been rescheduled, so no stream tomorrow, no stream Thursday, but I will be back on Friday, which is the 1st of October, and I will be back with a live stream, if all goes well with the internet there, of Esper Genesis live from Origins in Columbus, Ohio. I will try to stream Saturday night from Origins, but that is very much up in the air. I don't know yet. When I get back from Origins, I will be here the rest of October and all through November, so I will try to post the tentative schedule within the next couple of days, but that's what we're looking for in terms of schedule and how things are going on. I want to thank my wonderful viewers for everyone who made this possible tonight. Today, thank you to Arudinel, Hillness, Terry Tunes, Triffity Mats, the best mods in the business. Thank you as always. Thank you to my wonderful subscribers. Thank you to Arudinel, Hillness, Terry Tunes, Triffid, Effect Life, Aranth, Garlic Tofu, Lone Wolf, and Trendane. Thank you to all of those and the Patreon supporters in that group as well. Thank you to Al Madden, to Benjamin Netanyahu. Thank you to Bethalda, Black Fury, Chibi Fan. I hope you enjoyed it, Chibi Fan, and hopefully we'll see you again. Thank you to Captain Sausages and Rods. Thank you to thank you to Little USA. Thank you to Live Suing, Marinda, Questionable Results. Thank you to Stevie. Thank you to Matamashka, The Sparkly Wallflower, Timeos, You Christensen, VNK. And a special thanks today to my wonderful players, to Trendane, to Brad, to Terry, and to Amal for being awesome. And you will see more of them, of course, coming next month. That's it for me. I'll see you in a little bit over 10 minutes over on GOG for some D&D with GOG Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Until then, everyone, please be good to each other, and I'll catch you all soon. Bye for now.